Welcome everybody to Upsurge Esports. Today we're bringing you a quarterfinal matchup between a couple of undefeated teams from the Cloud and Mountain groups. Today facing off will be the Illinois Academy versus Lane Zero Blizzard. My name is Tanner Metro, and today I am joined by Rebel Fox. And Rebel Fox, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing fantastic. Excited to see both these teams come out compete for that semifinal berth in the UCL.
Absolutely. So again, quarterfinals, big things on their plate in front of them. We are jumping right into the draft, and immediately the jungle pool is targeted.
Yeah, I love these two teams, and I have a lot of experience. I've casted both of them on a number of times. Elise is a guaranteed takeaway for Moody's, alongside potentially Nidalee, unless there's a response from Illinois Academy. He's a beast on these two champions. The other side, Misfortune, Olaf, makes a lot of sense. Lee Sin taken away as well. Again, the Nidalee is something you should keep your eye on right now.
Yeah, and they don't opt to take it first. They are going to go with the Senna, which Sandelian has played before. I would imagine we may see a Tom Kench down there since that wasn't banned away. And then, I mean, almost an immediate response to Cassiopeia Trundle. The Trundle pick seems a little premature because you don't necessarily see the front line. Could kind of negate the Subjugate ultimate.
Yeah, right now the Trundle is definitely going into the jungle. Sushi's been playing that non-stop for basically the entire patch. Cassiopeia, really good, not only in the mid lane, but also Kuderic plays a mean Cassiopeia ADC. You could see that flexibility come out. Set taken this time, most likely for Wilwin. I've seen DTS play in the mid lane, and the Nidalee coming out. That is a Moody specialty.
Yeah, the Nidalee, I have actually had the opportunity to see Moody's on the Nidalee and just absolutely runs away with the game. And the power picks really coming through here. You've got, I mean, Set could make his way down on the bottom side for Raheen, and it's not a slouch in the support lane. And then when you let it farm alongside Senna, it could be so very powerful. I believe they're expecting it to go into the top lane as they lock in the Gangplank and then take away the Tom Kench.
Yeah, they're just making sure that their support pool is pinched in the aspect. So like Gangplank's really good, especially for Quackers. He's a good Gangplank player. But the thing is like now if you put Set in the top lane, it's going to get frozen out, and you're banning away supports to force Set into the support role, even though you've hidden what you've got on the side of Illinois Academy. So they're going to first pick support here in response to what they should assume to be the Set support instead of something like Tom Kench, like Braum, like Thresh, something that would help the Senna out in the laning phase. That looked like it was a Braum ban that they're about to hover. We'll see. Yeah, that's a Braum ban. Confirmed.
So Braum taken away, of really mitigating, like we said, that support pool. Anybody that can keep the Senna safe, they want it off the board. The Recon is going to be locked in, so another support taken away here. We'll have to see how Lane Zero Blizzard decide to go in here, or decide to round this one out, as they do have their last two picks. And Wakanari on the Recon. I mean, that's a huge tool there. Xayah is also still available, unless for whatever reason that Cassiopeia is flexed down so they can get the Lovers duo. But I love that pick for the engage for the team.
Absolutely. See, not to mention, again, with something like Cassiopeia in the bottom lane, if you throw the miasma out, you can deny a lot of the engage that Set would be able to disengage or recon with that showstopper, things of the sort. That's nice. Syndra picked up for DTS, great champion at the moment. Aatrox also grabbed for the top lane matchup into the Gangplank. Not likely to get harassed early on, but not tons of kill pressure for the Gangplank outside of just a misplay coming through from Wilwin here. So I love the way that Lane Zero set up their solo lanes. Also the support Set, again, flexing that immediately in the draft. Very good for Raheen.
Yeah, and Syndra left up a very strong champion alone, but a solid blind pick to have. You can play extremely safe. You're not the most mobile champion, but you have such long range. It is going to be okay. This is actually so Cassiopeia should be flexing down to the bot lane. Yeah. It seems. I'm assuming Echo mid. So. Yeah. You've got the ranged into melee matchup for the Syndra as well, so it should feel pretty good and should have an easy time shoving the Echo underneath the turret here. This was, I mean, these teams did their research. They sped through the picks and bans here, so I'm very excited to see hopefully an explosive game one.
That's the case. Not to mention, again, the Echo in a really rough matchup for the first 5-6 levels of the lane. But of course, once the ultimate's activated at that level 6 and any time beyond, Syndra's harass becomes, annoying, becomes ridiculous. It's more of a wave clearing tool at that point, though, because Echo can engage freely onto Syndra most of the time. His E's capable of dodging the stun if possible, and the ultimate especially denying a lot of the damage that Syndra can bring to the table. That's why it's seen as the counter matchup. I see Echoes get harassed out of lane all the time by Syndra, so I don't know if it's completely a counter pick, but definitely definitely something we've seen a lot in response to the Syndra. So we'll see whether or not Gambito has practiced this one. I know he's a very big assassin player, so it's likely right in his wheelhouse.
I love the Cassiopeia down into the bottom lane, because a lot of the times when you see the flexibility with the mages down there, the team loses a lot of their sustained damage in team fights. And I mean, Cassiopeia is known for that, just spitting out the Twin Fangs, the poison, stopping some of the maybe even engages here, where you've got the Nidalee Pounce or the Aatrox dash, the Umbral dash. The Miasma kind of just stomps it in its tracks. So I'm excited to see how this bot lane plays out and kind of transitions to the team fights, because like I said, a lot of times you don't have the sustained damage, and here they do.
Yeah, I am a little bit afraid, again, if Set versus the Rakan is something that you're able to isolate without the Miasma coming down from Cassiopeia, it's actually a really good lane for the Set, because he abuses the Rakan heavily when he tries to jump in aggressively for those grand entrances and things of the sort, especially if the taunt comes out or if you're missing cooldown somewhere or other. Believe it or not, I would have actually loved, I know Hypertension is going to be very mad at me for saying this, Nami's like one of his best played champions, would have been great into Set, and the E synergizes so well with Cassiopeia. Giving more damage, slowing, would have been nice to see, but the Rakan's laning phase, more than likely going to be taken advantage by the Set and the Senna. It's later in the game when you can get onto the Aatrox, Syndra, the Nidalee, all of these damage champions, and buy space for your Gangplank, your Echo, your Cassiopeia.
And I mean, good for Lane Zero Blizzard here for having that flex pick, because immediately in the second round of bans, they're expecting Set to go in the top lane, and they ban away 2 more supports. So you know, the favorable matchup that you're talking of was very well drafted to throw down onto Raheen, and I didn't really see that in his champion pool. So it's going to be interesting to see, like I said, an explosive game 1, but if they're able to kind of pull off this this bot lane strategy that they've got going. Set is, like you said, no slouch in the bottom lane. It's all going to be about comfortability for Raheen.
That it is. And again, I've casted this team. I saw them in FCS when they were playing in the semifinals up against the eventual champions in Recon 5 Green. Raheen, I've referred to him as this a number of times. He's a fantastic button pusher. He is one of the best mechanical supports you will see. And giving him something like Set that not only can make his own plays, but also get some damage out. You're talking in the right situation, we'll be able to fight things like the Cassiopeia on his own. And I like giving him that opportunity to make his own plays, because a player of this caliber deserves to have that freedom.
Yeah, and if you don't have, well, there isn't much of a way in unless you're finding a flank here in the team composition, but you have this Set. So a lot of weight on Raheen's shoulders to be able to be, you know, grabbing that priority target, that Trundle or Gangplank in the front line, slamming him down into the back line, and then kind of letting his team take over from there. Because yeah, we're really talking about the Set pick, and I love that flex and just how much utility it brings to the team. But aside from that, looking at the Illinois Academy roster, the Trundle, you have, I mean, the resistances are okay to have in general, but not going to be crazy. You don't really have these huge frontline tanky targets to pinpoint with the subjugate. So maybe an early pick here, or maybe just like you said, a comfort pick for Sushi, just because he's played it so much.
He plays it a ridiculous amount. Set, if he goes for the Gargoyle Stoneplate when he jumps into a fight, will have a ton of base stats to steal for the Trundle, so that's quite nice. But outside of that, the thing you can take into Trundle is that he's worse into AP junglers, and this is a phenomenal matchup for the Nidalee, which is why it was a counter. They didn't take it first overall because they were waiting to see if the Trundle was going to come through. Trundle doesn't drain the AD from Nidalee and destroy her dueling power like most AD junglers. Nidalee outscales in terms of damage, so Trundle really just becomes the damage or the tankiness pull from Raheen later in the game. Gotta get stuff done early if he wants to make an impact.
Absolutely. So before we jump into this game, guys, we want to talk about Upsurge Esports, and we are trying to continue to grow this community as a whole. Until the start of May here. So for the Premier League, if you're looking to join Upsurge Premier, you've got until May 1st. And then for the Minor League, the Junior League, and the Contenders League, you've got May 17th to sign up. So if you want to take part in these games that you've been watching on this stream for so very long, please join the Discord. There is a link down below in the panels, and you can get the rest of the information there. We hope to see you guys join us here on Summoner's Rift. We are going to jump into a quick break, though. But when we come back, we'll have game number 1 between Lane Zero Blizzard and Illinois Academy.
Started with a vision of quality, a vision of uniformity.
We took the time to create something familiar yet refreshing. something with a bit of change.
Designed to fit any brand's unique vision.
Welcome back, everybody. Game number 1 between Lane Zero Blizzard, who will be taking the blue side here, and Illinois Academy. Both of these teams going 7-0 in groups, winning 2-0 in their series in the best of 16. And now they meet here in the quarterfinals. Again, my name is Tanner Metro, joined by Rebel Fox. And Rebel, you said that you've had so much time watching these teams. What are we expecting in this early game?
Yeah, I mean, what we're looking at, especially in terms of champions, again, you have an oppressive Syndra in the mid lane. Top lane's where a lot of the action might end up coming into play because, again, Gangplank's going to be able to poke Aatrox. Aatrox takes a little bit of damage, and you've got a Trundle who would love to gank for this non-range champion, so be able to set the Gangplank ahead of time. Not to mention bot lane, again, with the Miasma, when that setup is around, wants to affect the side lane. So expect Sushi Killer to leave Echo alone for the most part, until that level 6 mark where, you know, you have a lot more kill threat with Bandito, with the ultimate being able to protect him against the damage of the Syndra.
Yeah, I could possibly see some dives onto this pick as everything seems to be going pretty fair. It is game number 1 of the quarterfinals. Nobody wanted to overstep any boundaries, so we don't see any invades. We're going to see both of the junglers starting at their blues, and we'll have to see how they decide to path. And the set Senna bot lane going to get an early start here, or an early lead in the bottom lane.
That's pretty nice, being able to give themselves a little more pressure. Again, that phase breaker really nice. That good trade there from onto Wakanari. Also getting a couple souls there for Sindillion early on. The more he stacks it, the better this is. One thing to note, though, he does not opt for the support item. Doesn't go Spectral Sickle. Instead, goes for the Doran's Blade. I think that does deny him a fair amount of the ambient gold that you would want to buy itemization. So Sindillion really kind of favoring the trading power. I don't know that that's the best choice in this case, but certainly we'll have to see how that one plays out for him.
Yeah, definitely keep an eye down there because, like you said, losing a lot of gold on that 80 carry. Sure, Sandillion will have the souls, but is it going to be enough? And the set here, I mean, works really well into champ have to run at him, and that's exactly what Rakan has to do here if he wants to look for an engage. This bot lane should be spicy for the Lane Zero Blizzard squad. And on the top side, a little bit of poke in favor of Quacker. I mean, that's essentially a ranged into melee matchup from the Gangplank to Aatrox, so kind of to be expected as the Haymaker comes out, finds a bit of damage, but not much follow-up there. Wakanari actually, he needs to be careful. He's stepping up and taking a lot of damage.
That he is. Again, the Rakan easy to harass if you are this set in the bottom side of the map, especially when you've got some follow-up like the Senna, who can auto has the Glacial to slow him down afterwards. You have to be very careful about where you step. Big thing, I'm not sure where the wave is at right now in the top lane, but I think what might be happening is Gangplank trying to bounce the wave off the top side to allow Trundle to gank the top lane once it gets back to the middle. You'll have to keep your eye on that. Nidalee on the bottom side of the map, just controlling down here as best as possible. Could look for a mid lane gank or a bot lane gank, depending on where you're going to see them path to. Oh, wow.
And they are going to trade out the Scuttlecrats, and yeah, Will win actually as we jump back up top in a bad spot. He's just going to get flashed on in first blood. Will win. What are you doing, my man?
That's a rough one right there. Way too low of health, going in unnecessarily to try to get some trade damage. DPS getting pressed on.
Yeah, might be some more. There's a Chomp, gonna find the slow. The flash is still available. The teleport coming through from the Aatrox. Finds a knock up onto Sushi. Does have the Infernal Chains. Not gonna pull him back. And the flash not available here for Sushi as Moody actually picks up on the back line underneath the turret. And now Sushi in a bad spot. Will win surely. Should have it, but a Spear gonna pick it up and a double kill in response. So Will win. She's shaking his head saying, sorry, team, but he makes it back up as he teleports into the mid lane.
And there's a good amount of information on the map after what we had seen from the invade there on top side from Moody. He's able to spot out that the blue buff's gone and that it had been a path upwards because Sushi Killer moved up on the map. That allows DTS to move down in the lane, away from the Echo, away from Sushi Killers. And while, yes, he almost goes down, also allows them to have the information to know when that gank comes through to collapse a lot faster. TP comes in from Whirlwind to help out too, but very well played on the map after the disaster of the top lane play that allowed the solo kill for Gangplank.
And Moody actually gets spotted out here. He does have his set to try and keep him safe, but they are going to look for the fighter now. Wakanari has to be careful. The Ignite is on. Heal going to be used to keep him alive for now. He flashes away to stay safe, and now Moody's finds himself in a 1v3. The heal not going to be enough, and the shutdown onto the Cassiopeia. So Kudarik feeling pretty good about that one. Now Sandillion in a little bit of trouble, forced to use the flash. Raheen as well. Does not have the flash available underneath. The turret is going to be enough. No, it's not. The Haymaker shield does not come through as Dandito picks that one up. So immediate response from the Illinois Academy squad.
And and it's a game of collapses right now. Whoever has the numbers advantage is going to win. Early on in that fight, I think Moody was trying to get a pounce onto the Rakan to get the execution and get another kill for himself, but unfortunately, I don't think he had him marked at the time, which reduces not only the range, but also doesn't give him anything else to work with and increases the cooldown to get that pounce up and get away as well. And then, of course, his bot lane attempting to help him out there does get punished as well.
Yeah, and pressure seems to be the name of the game for both teams. Again, we see Sushi Killa path through the mid lane there, drops the pillar, doesn't find too much, but just staying proactive early. Level 6 for DTS, though. Dandito has to be careful underneath the turret. There's the Unleashed Power. Is going to be enough. The auto attack picks it up, and DTS in retaliation. Now 1-0 and 2 on this Syndra, and this could be scary because this is a champion that he has popped off on before.
And he is.
Oh, Quackers, though, the level 6 to level 5 combo will win, though. Get a nice little bit of trade. He's got the heals from the passive, and it's not going to be enough. The parlay doesn't finish it off. And on the bottom side of the map, the lane 0 boy is going to pick up the first Infernal Drake. So a little bit of damage going to help supplement this team.
Most definitely. And again, Cinder utilizing that pre-6 matchup against the Echo to get some harass down, and then, of course, beating him to level 6, the most important aspect, because Dandito had burnt his teleport to go bot lane support the fight, which means he can't come back to lane, get any more experience, and he's already down in terms of what kind of experience from the laning phase from DTS, so he gets that ultimate and is able to get the solo kill. That also prompted the bottom lane play for that dragon, because they're free to make that motion without worrying about the roam from Dandito and the jungler making it a 4-4.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you were talking about in this matchup alone. Dandito not safe really until he's level 6, and DTS, again, hitting level 6 early and being able to punish that. Now, Sendilian, you're running the wrong way, buddy. He should be shut down. As Kudrik gonna pick that one up, and now Raheen underneath the turret. 4 members again on the bottom side. Haymaker, though, a lot of damage coming out. The ultimate is available for Dandito, but he does not need to use it. So a 1-for-0, and again, some more activity. 4 members, once again, in the bottom lane.
Yeah, absolutely the case. Another good collapse. Again, when you have the numbers advantage, you're doing a good job. That time, I think Sendilian and Raheen were not expecting the trundle, and they were way too highly aggressive there. Raheen backed off very early from that, but Sendilian looked like he was a little slow to the play, so unfortunately, he gets punished on the not very mobile Syndra.
And Trundle just gonna go right back to farming after that successful gank here. Syndra is deep underneath the turret, and the top laners still going toe-to-toe. The ultimate not used is one of the biggest things by Dandito in that dive, so he still has it to stay safe from the Unleashed Power from the Syndra in the mid lane.
Yeah, but is still getting very pressured. Again, DTS with the solo kill early on, getting that back, has a lot of AP to work with, and whenever Echo is out on the map and not able to farm, he's getting even further behind. Right now, 32 CS down to his counterpart is not exactly the place you want to be on this Echo pick, especially into somebody who can harass you, even into the later stages of the game. If Dandito can't pick up some ambient gold, get himself a little further on, it's going to be rough. Well, yeah, seeing another back here, he just continues to take harass as soon as DTS is capable of doing so. That frees up a lot of space also for Moody to move. He took that red buff away from Sushi Killa.
And he does just back, picks up a ruby crystal, so just a little bit of health to try and keep him alive. Now Moody's, he'll be okay with the pounce as he does make it out, but the ward gonna be traded back. A nice roam early here from Wakanari, helping his jungle clear out some vision. And early in this game, we're already seeing, 300 gold in favor of lane 0 Blizzard, which has gone back and forth, but a lot of it, as we were speaking about, in the mid lane, almost 1,400 gold ahead on the Syndra. And then Moody's on his signature Nidalee, really on any champion that I've seen him play, he manages to always find a CS lead. He hasn't been as proactive, but his score is very similar, his KDA rather, is very similar to Sushi Killa. And he's up 1,000 gold just from being ahead in CS alone. So early leads coming out in a very scrappy match, and it's not necessarily even from the kills.
That's correct, yeah. Doing a really good job, Moody's and DTS over their counterparts in farming. Once the Runic Echoes comes out from Moody as well, that's going to be the point where he really starts to out-farm in a very heavy fashion. Now, again, we'll talk about what happened with this Rift Herald play. Both bot lanes were able to roam up to the top side to get this kind of 8-minute mark play towards this Rift Herald. We're going to see a fight here.
Yeah, it should be a 2v. There's the ultimate from Gangplank 2, helping from across the map. The Petrified Gaze gonna lock Raheen. Got the shield to stay alive. Now Sendilian again, running the wrong way, trying to sack for his support. So Shaquille gonna pick that one up, and Raheen makes it out alive this time. But Dandito is waiting in the wings. They might look for something. 4 members again in your lane. Raheen, there's just no way out. So a 2-for-0, and the gold sways back in favor of the Illinois Academy.
Again, when you're running a like kind of famine Senna build where you don't take any farm, it's all about the harassment of that sort. Again, you don't get a point of actually a mid lane in siege. By this, Rift Herald's going to get 2 mid lane towers. That's really big. But again, the Senna with the set, not a lot of protection. That's not Tom Kench. That's not Braum. That's not Thresh. It's not something you can defend with. It's pure aggression, which is why you're seeing the constant 4-mans into that lane to make sure they keep the pressure onto those two and don't let them scale into the game. Fortunately, looks like Recon, or my apologies, Lane Zero Blizzard were able to get around the map and able to make things happen in mid lane to respond to the pressure top.
Absolutely. 2 turrets for just a couple of plates and a couple of kills means the gold back in favor of Lane Zero Blizzard, and it's just honestly been teeter-totter back and forth. And I love this strategy. I would imagine that here soon we see Sandillion and Raheen come down to the bottom side of the map as the dragon is spawning here in just under 15 seconds. But maybe they just keep the pressure up top. It isn't... I mean, it's one Cloud Drake, which you would hate to give over because the ultimate cooldown reduction does feel good, but this lane that's being camped, maybe instead you opt for some plates to try and to get some more gold in their pockets.
Could definitely do something along those lines. They are starting to roam down onto the bottom side of the map. Dandito has his teleport to respond to. Yeah, they probably just give this. There's no reason to be fighting, especially without your bot lane around. So well decided there from Lane Zero to make sure they don't do anything. DTS's position is a little aggressive right here.
He may find himself a 1v3. Raheen is over the wall. A nice spear there. Gonna chunk out Kudarik, and now there's the Dawning Shadows. Gonna find a little bit of damage. Up and down goes Raheen as they find a kill for himself. Kudarik falls, so you're not gonna have that sustained damage from that Cassiopeia no longer. And Wakanari goes down as well. Moody's picks that one up, and he's so bursty on the Nidalee, and he wants more. Toss out on the spear, doesn't find his target. He's gonna flash forward though. Is it gonna be enough underneath the turret? Takes one more turret shot, has the heal, but he will fall as Sushi Killa picks that one up for himself. So a greedy play, a bit over aggressive, but overall a 2 for 0 for Lane Zero Blizzard.
Yeah, that's the case. They might want to break this inhibitor tower or at least get it down. Yeah, they're probably going to be able to break it down, but Echo on the flank as well as Gangplank means they are so deep in this, and I don't know that the Lane Zero is going to be able to walk out.
They get the turret, but at what cost? Cannon Barrage comes down, finds the slow. The Black Mist might not be enough. DTS under fire. Dandito gonna pick that one up first. Raheen does find a stun, a beautiful face breaker at that. Sandillion tries to get away with the blast cone, and he just might be able to do it. Raheen staying alive for so long, but unfortunately with 4 members on you, it's not gonna be enough. And now Sandillion, he does find the route onto Dandito, but he should be chased down. Moody's is coming out, and the heal is going to be used. A little bit of damage coming down Sandillion underneath the turret. Dandito back out, away from that turret with the ultimate. And I mean, at what cost was that? 3 for 0. You get an inhibitor turret, but I mean, look at the gold. It's still completely even without these plays and without these skirmishes, without these wacky plays rather around the map. How do Lane Zero Blizzard continue to keep the pressure?
It's a little bit strange because, again, you also have to consider the fact that you have a farming bot laner in the Cassiopeia versus the souls being picked up by Senna. So the gold's also not going to be reflected perfectly. There's a small advantage in the way of Lane Zero Blizzard here, but a bigger portion is stealing map pressure means that you have to get the gold back. And again, they weren't even able to break the mid tower here with 4 members on the side of Illinois Academy. And you're losing towers all over the map. Bottom lane, 1 plate left. That is a very weak tower as well. So now your mid lane inhibitor is completely exposed. You're going to have more than enough, kind of ability to put warding down in the shallow portions of Illinois Academy jungle if you're Lane Zero Blizzard to allow for Moody's DTS to roam around and help out Wilwin, help out Sandillion and Raheen, or at least spot out when these 4-man rotations are going to come through.
Yeah, definitely opening up a little bit of pressure on the map. Now, Wilwin and Quacker going toe-to-toe. Moody's is here, though. The spear lands, and Wilwin gets the kill, but the damage from the Nidalee.
I swear he has like a tracking thing that just allows his spears to always hit. Like, he very rarely misses any of these. And the play response top lane, I don't know that Trundle's going to be able to get here either. TTS unable to be punished. Wilwin walks away with the tower on the bottom lane. Again, playing the map so well to get these standing neutral objectives in the towers is the way that Lane Zero is trying to play the game. And they're destroying right now, at least in that aspect.
Yeah, managing to stay proactive is huge. Now, you've got a couple of kills on the Echo, which is where you want them for the most part, on a couple on the Cassiopeia. So just trying to stay up. I mean, if we take a look at the gold, Cassiopeia up 3,000. But like you said, the souls for Senna, huge. But looking at this team now, if you don't have the burst, if you can't find the burst rather in the late game, where is this sustained damage going to come from? Sure, Senna can put it down, but she's not that rapid fire attack speed 80 carry like the Cassiopeia. I want to see how they're able to kind of now use Kuderik here in these team fights. Again, I talk about this champion all the time, where you can just click on your fountain and then just spam E on the enemy team, and you've got that built-in orb walking. And I'm hoping we see a little bit of that here, as we may see a fight around the second Rift Herald. The gold is in favor of Lane Zero Blizzard right now, but again, like we said, the gold it's kind of hard to read with the Senna pick here. And you've got a couple of picks on your kids. Raheem flashes forward there, gets the face breaker, knocking on the sun. No, back into the team goes Kuderik as he flashes out. Dawning Shadow's gonna find a bit of damage now. Walking Ari trying to get out as well. He's got the quickness on. Sushikil takes a little bit of damage to the subject, can keep him alive for now. Now Dandito forced to run away. The spear's coming out from Moody's. Nobody dead just yet. The flash forward will win, picks up the first one, but he may be sacrificing his life for that as he tries to make it out. Kuderik gonna pick that one up, and now they may look for another fight, as Wakanari is going to get chunked out again. Those Nidalee Spears from the back line doing so much damage. Almost picks up the kill on that snipe. Parallel comes out. Dandito does still have the ultimate available, so we'll have to pay attention to that. But the rest of the team does not, so it looks like they may sacrifice some pressure mid for the Rift Herald.
Now, let me speak to your point, because I think it's very relevant to what's happening in these fights, especially as we get into the mid game. When it comes to the DPS coming out, at least damage per second over time, as we're talking about during fights, Syndillion will do quite a bit. DTS has some orbs that'll be able to do some DPS. Really, it's going to come from Will Win, and that's going to be the big thing. Otherwise, it's burst from Moody, it's DTS, Syndillion being able to do a lot of burst damage. But the important part about their team fight is that they have repeatable burst. Things like the Nidalee marking in champion and then going into the Panther stance, something along those lines, to burst somebody out. Same with DTS, when he hits a full combo, lots of damage. Syndillion, full combo, lots of damage. And what they've got also is healing. Syndillion, Moody's. You've got Raheen on his. Some sustain, some shielding for himself. So their fight, if they go long, they're much better off because they're able to kill off these champions with burst. And once the Echo ult is used, he has no defense against it. The orange from the Gangplank, once that's burnt, you got nothing. That's what they're looking for. They want extended team fights where they can utilize this healing to use their sustained burst over and over to pick off single or double champions at a time.
And the burst will be coming through, as you're seeing very little right now. We do see some pathing towards it, but very little magic resistance on the Illinois Academy squad, where Gangplank opts into the Boots of Swiftness to be able to run you down. Subjugate, or Trundle rather, with the Subjugate, he will get a lot of utility, especially with his passive as well, in the Spirit Visage, which it looks like he's building it now. But, I mean, you don't expect your tank to die. If your carries aren't building magic resistance, they are just going to die to the exact burst we saw as Petrifying Gaze used there to stun up Raheen, and that's a huge ultimate down. They could look for a fight.
That's true. I don't think it's absolutely imperative to the team fight. Really, it's to deny Will Win and Moody's access to the backline as best possible. Raheen in the exact same way. See a little bit of pressure around here. Moody's looking for more spears also. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, now level 10 to level 12, and Will Win wants to take this fight. The Cannon Barrage coming down, a little bit damage traded back. The move curve going to keep Quackers alive for now. Not going to find the sweet spot, so Will Win has to run away, and the minion damage is just too much. Quackers in the solo kill for himself.
Yeah, so the early game went really heavily in favor of Quackers. Then, believe it or not, Will Win was able to, with that previous kill that was banded to him by Moody's, as well as the bottom lane solo tower gold, he was able to come back and actually had a gold advantage over Quackers. I think if he hadn't fought on top of the Cannon Barrage and in that wave of minions, it's very likely he would have won that duel up against Quackers anyway. But giving that kill over not great now also allows for pressure in the mid lane to finally push down their second tower now and giving them another gold advantage on the side of Illinois Academy.
And we spoke about the healing available to the Lane Zero Blizzard team. And Quacker's already paying that tax to the Executioner's Calling. He was 2 levels up, had the Executioner's Calling, and still almost died to Will Win here. So it's such a strong pick in the Aatrox as Raheen now going to get stunned up by the Petrifying Gaze. Moody's has to jump away here as he chunked underneath half HP. What goes up must come down, and Kuderik will fall. Moody's on the back line trying to toss out the spears. We might see the continuation of the fight as DTS manages the flash way to stay safe. So does Dandito. He does still have the ultimate, but he's not going to use it to get back into the fight. He will just disengage for now. So a 1-for-0 across the board as, again, Kuderik, forced to use that ultimate early, getting caught out. And Raheen, I mean, it's so perfect. You've got such a bursty composition. The Kurik walks up, you walk behind him, showstopper him right back into your team, and he pays the ultimate price.
That is absolutely the case. We've seen really good plays from Raheen. I am very worried, though. Without Flash, we haven't seen him being able to have the same impact in fights, and he's the only massive engage tool. Will Win has to run at you. Raheen has to run at you. Moody's with a spear. DTS with something like a stun of some kind. That's your engage on the side of Lane Zero Blizzard. On the opposite side, you've got Gangplank Ultimate to start a fight. You've got Echo to dive into a fight. You've got Rakan to start a fight. You can pick the fights that you want on the side of Illinois Academy, and that's where their strength has been through most of the game. I want to see them continue that trend. Pick the fights you want. Whenever you have numbers advantage, whenever you have a stronger member somewhere around, take that fight, play it out to the best of your abilities. That should be a win for you. And then now you need to start snowballing that into neutral objectives, dragons, barons, towers, things of that sort. And once you start doing that, then you're going to start to see the advantage start to sway the way of Illinois Academy, because the fighting so far from the side of Lane Zero Blizzard has been more contingent on Raheen or Will Win's ability to start fights off.
And after on the back end of that Kurik death, we just see everybody going back to farming for a little bit. And if we check in with Senna, she is sitting at 80 souls for herself. So Sandelian feeling pretty good, as the next dragon will be joining us in just under a minute. And again, Ocean Drake for the rest of the game. This would be the dragon to put Illinois Academy onto soul points. We'll have to see how much priority is put into this from the Lane Zero Blizzard squad, or if they decide to give this over. They have a lot of poke and a lot of burst. The regeneration could be a solid way for the Illinois Academy to stay alive in these fights. Now, Whirlwind does get caught out. The miasma stops from dashing, but he does manage to get away for now. Pops the World Ender, so he's got some movement speed, but he's going to run right into Sushi Killer. He might look to turn the fight, but in a 1v4, what can you do? He goes down as Quackers picks that one up with the parlay. And again, the dragon spawning soon. You don't have a lot of your sustained damage. What does Lane Zero Blizzard do?
They give another dragon. They have to be able to do that. Again, buying yourself the last Infernal Drake gives you the ability to give up this Drake when that comes around. Again, the ability of Illinois Academy to take whatever fight they want to roam around the map as this hit squad has been their strength literally all game. They haven't had an issue with it at all, which is the best part about their composition. And now they get a pick off on the bottom side, get this dragon for themselves. They're one away from Soul, so now you're going to force a 5-on-5 against the side of Lane Zero Blizzard, maybe when they're not comfortable, maybe when you're not able to, but most importantly, again, with their tools of engage, you should have the priority in the 5-on-5.
Absolutely, and when it comes to these objectives, Lane Zero Blizzard, they don't really have all of the tools to be able to melt the dragons, to melt the barons, like we just saw from the Illinois Academy. Kubrick on the Cassiopeia just bangs down these huge objectives. So even if you're looking to trade, there might be enough time if they were to start up that baron there for Illinois Academy to just roam up and stop that, because you don't have, I mean, other than Set and Aatrox a little bit, you don't really have the neutral monsters. I keep saying objectives, but the neutral monster damage. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play around that, because again, it's not something that you can just sneak away. You can't grab that Soul Ocean Drake away from the enemy team, because they're going to be on your face and melting you down with that Cassiopeia.
Absolutely the case. You see, again, I like the setup right here from the side of Lane Zero. They're getting good wards around the bottom side of the map. Quacker's on the bottom side without his TP. He has to be a little more cognizant of the fact that he doesn't have that ability up. He does have his Cannon Barrage, but a Cannon Barrage is not a good substitute for having a full champion, which is why you see him roaming up right now. So the side lane pressure right now, because of the weight TP on Quackers, the burnt TP on Quackers, means that he has to be here. They have to know that they're ready to go for the Baron. They're going to be around for the 5-on-5. Don't have that same kind of split push threat that you'd have if he had the TP in the side lane. Could just freely push that away.
Yeah, I mean, we could see the inverse of that. We could see Will win and make his way down on the bottom side. 2 teleports available for Lane Zero Blizzard, as both are unavailable for the Illinois Academy. Now we might actually see a fight here in the mid lane. The root coming out. There's the flash. Facebreaker doesn't find too much though. Sushi Killer gonna get locked up. On the back line goes Raheen, but it's not gonna be enough just yet. Dandito goes golden for now, and Sushi Killer taking a little bit of damage. He has 2 stopwatches. He has a stopwatch and the Zonia, so he buys a little bit of time, but it's not enough. They're shut down to Moody's, and now Raheen, he's just going 1v2, and he stayed alive for so long. Did he buy enough time for his team? Will Win trying to run away from this one. He does have the Infernal Chains. A nice No dodge there, actually. Not going to pick up the stun from Petrifying Gaze, and now Quacker forced to get out of the fight. DTS finds another, and will win once more. He's got the healing to stay alive. Moody's with the snipe there, and Sushi Killer will fall. Now Rakan, the only remaining member, but Moody's wants more. He's going to run him down. The heal is there, and the flash available, but with 4 members dead, you don't have to worry about how fast you kill the Baron.
No, you do not, especially when the support's the only one up. That is not a 50-50. That is not a very likely chance of stealing. Big part of this fight. Again, flash up for Raheen means he can get into the fight and get on top of the Cassiopeia. Pulls Kuderek completely out of the fight, and Wakanari is also there. So there's your engage, there's your DPS. Taken out of the fight by a support set. You see Echo try to burn the same amount of time, but it's not going to be good enough. He ends up dying before Raheen does in the fight. And then again, once the fight breaks apart when those two die, they re-engage over and over again. It was Will win with a fantastic Q to set up a good stun from DTS, which set up the rest of the burst coming through from Sindillion, from Moody's, wins them the team fight. That's exactly how you have to play it out if you're on lane 0. Get the Baron and get the first major advantage that they've had of the game.
And one of the biggest things there, Moody's, you don't have incredible sustained damage, but you've got, like you said, that sustained burst. You land a hook, you land a trap, you pounce on somebody, you blow them up, and he did just that in this fight. Baron now in the pockets, or in the hands, rather, of lane 0 Blizzard, and they've already had so much pressure just throughout the map. You know, mid lane completely cracked. They've got the tier 1s on the outers as well. We'll have to see how they monitor this, or how they decide to push with this Baron, as we might see Will win and Quacker go toe-to-toe again in the bottom lane. We'll have to see who comes out on top, because again, a 2-level lead for the Gangplank. He's up 80 CS. He's got a handful more items since the last time they faced off, but Aatrox, I mean, what does he need? He's got the Death's Dance, so he's feeling pretty good, as Dragon will be joining us in 40 seconds.
Definitely. Do you know what Sindillion's stack count is currently at?
Sindillion is at 110 souls.
Okay, so really quick, there's a little bit of math behind the soul stacking mechanic, but basically with 0.75% AD and crit strike every 15 levels, you get about 56 gold worth of value. At 110 souls, it's about 6,000 gold that's not accounted for just in flat stats currently owned by the Cenapic.
And now the Subjugate baited out there. Again, Dragon spawning in just under 10 seconds. Not gonna have that Rumble ultimate, but we'll have the remaining ultimates. We have to, I'm looking to see Dandito use his ultimate safely, as immediately Wakanari has to try and get out of this fight. He is gonna get stunned up by Sindillion on that center. Willwin just gonna zone the rest of the team out, and this might be a tough spot because this Dragon doesn't die very quick. Kuderek and Quacker on the outside. The stun coming out there from DTS. He's got the ultimate as well. The shield gonna keep him alive from the Saracen Brace, but the Dragon going over to lane 0 Blizzard. Do we see a follow-up fight? Cannon Barrage was used, but nothing more. The lane 0 Blizzard guys are just going to take what they've got and get out.
DTS, hero in this for multiple reasons, but the biggest one is when you're approaching into this Dragon Pit, you've got 2 options. Actually, you have a lot more options, but no flanks could come through from the side of Illinois Academy, so you weren't able to get Dandito anywhere near the pit, Sushi Killers anywhere near the pit. You weren't able to get any of these divers that do a lot of damage anywhere near the point where they can start to contest and buy space for Kuderek to move up. Because of that, they just got completely zoned off, grouped up, and the Syndra was putting out massive DPS as well as Moody, so they were completely zoned off as they took the Dragon individually. Dandito on the side.
Yeah, with the Baron down minions, a nice knock up there from Wakanari. Is it going to be enough? The supports are both on the back line. Rahino just so tanky as the Haymaker comes out and chunks out Rakan. Now Sushi Killer under fire. He is inside the chains, and Sindillion going to pick that one up. Now Dandito trying to do what he can. Moody's goes golden for now, so he will stay alive, but he falls. Dandito going to pick that one up. So a 2-for-1 in favor of Illinois Academy, and a nice pickup against a sieging Baroned up squad.
Yeah, a little too far up for this team. I think they were still a little bit low from the Dragon fight where they'd taken too much. DTS especially was sitting at, I think, 50 to 40% health most of the time, especially after the Dragon had come through. So a lot of those resources burned to get their health back up. Also, the fight was in an awkward spot where you couldn't channel away the side of Illinois Academy here if you're on the side of lane 0 Blizzard. Raheen, again, a hero play, making sure the backline couldn't be anywhere near that fight, and somehow got out of it. But unfortunately, they weren't able to burn Wakanari fast enough to get the kill onto him, and then they lose the ensuing fight afterwards because of the dive coming in from Dandito.
And Raheen has been such a huge tool in these team fights. Unfortunately, just goes a little too deep in that one. And now he's looking for more here. He's got the dead man's place. We're just going to run him down there. Kuderek just going to take the damage, but there's the follow-up Walking on, trying to keep him alive for now. Raheen again going to pick up the kill onto the AD carry, or the bot laner rather, as Kudrik will fall once again to this set support. You don't have boots, Cassiopeia. You got to hit the Noxious Blast to be able to run away, and if you can't do that, you will fall. The best thing coming out of that, though, I think, not going to use the flash, as the rest of the team will siege down the mid lane. Inhibitor, I mean, the Cassiopeia is dead. Again, sustains damage out of this fight as Quacker trying to do what he can. He does find a lot of damage on Raheen, though. The Haymaker can keep him alive for now. Quacker going to pick that one up to the support for the AD carry overall. But Kudrik will be joining the fight here in just under 5 seconds. This 30 seconds on Raheen means it's going to be a 4v5. And the Illinois Academy are monitoring this closely. The teleport almost available for Kudrik as he comes out of the base. Baron going to be spawning in just under a minute. Raheen will be alive by then, so not much going to be lost on the back end of that one.
Yeah. Going to be rough to try to contest, though, because, again, without your support being up at this point when the Dragon's going to be up so soon means that you can't get the ward and vision around. It should be only a little bit until we see that. They're going to try to control now the top side of the map to push for this tower. But again, that bottom side is where the control needs to begin to shift for both teams, because the Ocean Drake is where that's going to be. So over the next minute, 2 minutes, you could see more warding come through from both teams on the bottom side to contest for the Drake when that is up. I think it's something... I don't really know how the poke, it's very heavy poke. I don't know if Ocean Drake helps about it too much, but clearly if you're on the side of Illinois Academy, you want this Ocean Drake, or at minimum to force a fight that you're looking for with good flanks. So that first things first, if you want good flanks, you need good vision. I want to see them start to put more priority into this bottom side jungle so they can keep the control there and get their vision down.
Just as you said, they need to find their fight. They've been taking these poor fights that have been really put on, or engaged rather, by Lane Zero Blizzard. And then outside of that, any other fight following up, Kudrik has been almost dead at the beginning of the fight, or just getting picked, making your team give up an objective. So now moving forward with 2 huge objectives spawning, we need to see Illinois Academy really taking the fight, or picking their fight. They fought so well. We know that in the top lane, Quacker level 17 on that Gangplank, and he's doing so much damage, and he's not even full build yet. So they need to be able to play around him and allow him to get these barrel chains off in fights and really work around that alone. Now, with that being said, we could see a trade. I couldn't tell you the exact worth of Baron to the Ocean Soul here for both of these teams. But again, you know, if Lane Zero Blizzard go for that Baron, if you're not opting in to fight from Illinois Academy, you could just melt that dragon almost immediately, and vice versa. You know, if Lane Zero Blizzard goes down to deny the soul, we may see Illinois Academy with the Cassiopeia just shred that giant purple worm. But it looks like, just like you said, they are going to fight around this bottom side. We'll have to see if Lane Zero Blizzard can stop the soul from going over. Illinois Academy are on the soul point, trying to find the Ocean Soul, and Raheen trying to find a flank here. He's trying to stay on the outside, but so is Dandito, as Sendorian gets chunked out. There's the barrels I was talking about. The flash forward cannon barrage going to be used as well. So a couple of big team fighting ultimates, but it shouldn't matter. The dragon getting absolutely murdered here, and Lane Zero Blizzard just have no way in. So the Ocean Soul for Illinois Academy.
Again, all of their resources in terms of vision, or at least a lot of them, were burnt on the top side towards the Baron pit, which means they should have played that Baron dance. You were talking about they could have traded for it. Again, I don't know that that would have been enough damage just into the Ocean Soul to force the game end, but definitely would have been something to take away. And now the problem is you're giving a 50-50 contention at the moment, barring a fight coming into the Baron, that you're going to lose, potentially, here coming in for Lane Zero Blizzard. You don't want that. You'd rather trade for that Drake. And since you use all these resources here, why contest for the Dragon? I think it's unnecessary. Now you're also getting all of your vision that you put down pushed out. So right now, Illinois Academy, phenomenal position. They got the Ocean Drake, should have the inside track on the Dragon, and now also control all of the vision so they can look for these flanks that set up their fight.
Yeah, and Dandito on the backside, he's waiting by that blue buff, looking for something. He's got the parallel convergence, not gonna find anything, and he may be in a bad spot as the rest of his team does rally together to get him out. And now will win, pushing this mid lane. They drop the World Ender there, and Moody's goes huge, killing Wakanari on the front line. Now Sushi Killer does have that subjugate, so he's gonna remain tanky for a little bit longer. Raheem got the Haymaker, but the shield is down now. DTS gonna pick that one up, and it is 2 for 1 so far as DTS will fall. There's Delta coming out from Zed, but it's not gonna be enough just yet. And now Quacker on a killing spree. This Gangplank is finally logged in. Dandino trying to do what he can. He use that ultimate to stay alive for now, and a double kill there for Quacker, and he wants more. The Gangplank is just too much. A triple kill for Quacker on the Gangplank, and will win, forced to head back to the fountain.
And it's now come to the point where the burst damage from Quackers with the barrels is too much to heal through. Without somebody to tank it, like Raheen or even Willwin in the front line for you, you're gonna lose these fights, and that's exactly what happened. Quackers didn't need a front line. Dandito wasn't doing too much. Kuderek was trying to put out damage, but really it was all Quackers with the barrels and everything. It tunes down Moody, brings down DTS, and Raheen went down so early in the fight there was nobody to tank. Looked good at the start for lane 0, but again, over time, this Gangplank's just gonna win every single fight.
So far ahead of his counterpart, and Willwin had the flank, just really couldn't find a way into the fight. As now the Baron going over, Baron number 2, 1-1. Illinois Academy picking this one up. Quacker 8, 2, and 7. Like you said, the damage just so much. He should be able to complete that Mortal Reminder here shortly. And immediately, if you look at the vision scores across the map, which has played such a huge part right around that Dragon fight, and then again around that Baron fight, 110 vision score to the Set's 44. And I understand Set's position, you know, as a support Set is kind of be that frontline bruiser, but you still have your support duties. And with no support item, and even the Senna here having the blue trinket, that they just can't match the vision. And I think that's been so huge as these team fights kind of pop off. And now you're in a position where you're looking at a really strong team. If you don't see Quacker, you have to assume he's in a bush, and if you don't have the vision, you're gonna get blown up.
That is the case. To speak again to the vision score type of discrepancy, which is that Sindillion is a lot of damage, and he is still the AD carry, but he's the one with the support item, so it's a little difficult for him to have the same kind of impact on vision. But also, again, he didn't buy the Spectral Sickle to start with. He was much later on that completed item, which would have had a massive impact to get vision down a little bit earlier on in the game. And again, that wasn't really the point to talk about. They don't need to waste warding when it comes to things like the Dragon Pit or things like the Baron Pit when Dragon is what's on the table. You want that priority for yourself.
And Moody's coming down, trying to find Dandito, but Dandito does so much damage in response there. And if you're looking across the board at the counterparts, Moody is really the only map here who has a lead. He's level 15, Sushi Killer is level 14, but the experience across the board, 18 to 16 in the top lane. Dandito has a level now on DTS, and he started way behind, giving up a solo kill, and he was actually 2 levels down at one point, but managed to come back in the game as the inhibitor turrets are going to be pressured. Mid lanes is going to fall, as the top one might fall as well. They've got to protect the President Cannon minion there. But the map now opening up, it was 5 turrets to 2 and immediately flips on its head, 6-5 in favor of Illinois Academy. What is the answer? As Dandito and Willwin going toe-to-toe on the bottom side. Not gonna find much, except for a turret. Dandito does still have the ultimate available. He's gonna find himself a 1v2 though. Moody's is coming down, and all 3 inhibitor turrets now getting cracked in favor of Illinois Academy, and Dandito just buying time, allowing his team to do whatever he wants. DTS gets chunked down underneath half. There's the Cannon Barrage coming out now. Dandito does still have the ultimate, or use that ultimate to stay safe for now. He's going golden as well. The Nexus turret's under fire though, as it's going to be a 1-for-1. The mid laners are both dead. Will this fight ensue? Centillion has a lot of range and a lot of damage, and now Willwin on the front line trying to find some damage in return for his team, trying to stop this push. Does not want to lose this game. Number 1, the inhibitors are going to be under fire. Is now 3 inhibitors down in favor of Illinois Academy. So the Superman will be marching, and this might be the fight. Moody's goes golden to stay alive for now. Raheen on the back line trying to find some damage. The Haymaker not going to do enough. Sandilian flashes forward, but Quacker is just so strong. Manages to find one. It's going to be a 2-for-2 overall in this fight. Now Quacker on the front line, just so tanky. Willwin though finally pops a World Ender there. He's going to try to run down the enemy top laner. A lot of damage comes down. A shutdown for Sandilian as Sushi Killer falls as well. A 4-for-2, and Wakanari the only member making it out, but Willwin is trying to make sure that is not the case. Elder Dragon is spawning soon. Can they secure this kill?
Base is crippled. Inhibitors broken pretty much across the board. Massive amount of minions flooding in, but finally a little bit of reprieve for the side of lane 0 Blizzard. They get everybody off the map. 40 seconds now, 30 for Sushi Killer. But as you said, the Elder Drake's going to be up, and that should be a free dragon for them to take. And then again, the idea, I guess, would be to fight for the Baron when the Elder Drake's still up for themselves. That would be the place to fight for the rest of the map. They don't have much in the way of the base broken, but they can now look to fight with this Elder buff on their side.
And Sandillion played so aggressive in that fight, flashing forward, and now he finds a route onto Dandelion. Parallel convergence coming out as well. No jungler available for Illinois Academy as DTS doing what he does best, drops the ultimate, finds some damage, and forces everyone away. And now Elder Drake secured by lane 0 Blizzard.
Absolutely the case. Getting these waves pushed out is going to be the next massive priority here from the side of lane 0. They need to make sure that they are far enough out that they can look to contest against the Baron if the time comes and they need it to work. Because otherwise, again, if this Baron goes over, it's going to be hard to stop a full team, especially since your Elder Drake's going to expire with 3 inhibitors down. That's going to be a near impossible task to work with. So lane 0, if they can get these lanes pushed out fast enough, they can go for this Baron fight potentially.
And they don't have to worry too much about a backdoor, as they do still have both Nexus turrets. One is low, but not in too much danger. They do have the return damage, though, if they decide to do something crazy with Dandito, as we've seen, you know, Cloud9 pulling off the backdoor flanks on the Nexus to kill some dreams. We'll have to see if that's an idea that the Illinois Academy has, or if they are just going to take the head-on fights, because, again, they are, on paper, as you look at this team, very, very strong, and they've got the sustained damage. And Quacker has been so huge, but that's a lot of weight to put on one man's shoulders. Baron in 25 seconds, and the wave management game is what you're playing. It's wave management simulator for Lane Zero Blizzard, because like you said, you've got supers shoving into your base. It's very hard to leave.
That it is very tough. They're already finding it tough. Ooh, get that W onto the Snake, but not able to chase him down. Here's Raheem. He's trying really hard.
Oh, the face breaker there. Kudrik in a little bit of trouble. There's the up and down. The showstopper from Raheen. He does have the haymaker as well. Finds a bit of damage onto the bottom lane, but he's just in a 1v2, and there's no way out as Kudrik gonna pick that one up. So finally, he gets some just desserts on that set pick, who's been ulting him all game, and your support is dead. Not only your support, but a huge tank, huge front line gone for Lane Zero Blizzard, and this could be the Baron going free to Illinois Academy.
And it is. See, oh! With the Elder
Wow.
Drake. I think it's last few seconds, the Elder Drake, and Moody's able to use it to execute Echo, which is quite nice. Now Quacker's in the rough position.
Yeah, Quacker's immediately shut down, deleted. There's the burst damage coming through. If they can find the damage, they can win the fights, as Moody's and Willwin go huge. And, I mean, question mark pings coming out. Quacker, what are you doing there, buddy? You teleported into 1v2. I know you're strong, but just group and end the game.
Yeah, tough one. Bandito has 35 seconds on his health bar left to Derek.
Oh, good flashes forward. The ultimate comes out. Not going to be enough damage just yet, but Willwin is in his face, trying to shut him down. The heal comes through as the shutdown now going down. Moody's will fall. Willwin trying to find, or Sandillion rather, trying to find Sushi Killer, who just is huge tank in the front line. Still alive. The haymaker not going to take him down, but Sandillion does. DTS needs to be careful as he is low HP. Wakanari and Kudrik are still alive, and they are still kiting down, but the super minions are in the base. They're just buying time. Sandillion is forced back to the base, but the Nexus under fire. Wakanari still alive, a double kill for Kudrik, and is it going to be enough? The teleport now coming out, and that's going to be the game. They bought the time, they didn't need the fight, and the minions get it done.
And it didn't matter, all things said and done. In the mid game, it was a phenomenal set of plays by Moody's, by DTS to constantly put pressure on, but what ended up breaking this game was, again, finding the play over and over and over again for Illinois Academy that they needed to get something off the map, whether it be Rift Herald, whether it be Dragon, and over getting those small things ended up adding up. They bought the time for Quacker to scale. They bought the time for Kuderik to scale. Even though Raheen was in his face all game, it was a phenomenal set of game number 1 between these teams, and congrats to Illinois Academy. I mean, that was a hard-fought match.
A best of 3 where game number 1 goes to Illinois Academy. And I spoke about the back door, and it wasn't even the player, the minions. They were buying time. They played it so beautifully. And Kudrik was huge. He was getting caught all game. And in the last 2 fights, he gets ulted out by Raheen and manages to turn the kill on him. And then in that top lane, he's full health as he's just kiting everybody out. So huge ups there to Raheen, or Kudrik rather, to get it done for his team, to buy the time that they needed for the minions to end the game. With that, guys, we are going to jump to a quick break, but don't go anywhere, because as you saw, this game was electric. Game number 2 will not disappoint between Lane Zero Blizzard and Illinois Academy. Don't leave your seats, because you don't want to miss it. Welcome back, everybody, to Upsurge Esports. My name is Tanner Metro. Today, I'm joined by Rebel Fox. And if you guys are just tuning in, Illinois Academy has taken a game number 1 over Lane Zero Blizzard, and a bloody, exciting match that was literally a fight until the end. Rebel, how are you feeling about game number 1?
It was a very exciting game. I love the way both teams had drafted compositions that fit their like individual champion preferences. I think was a big portion of a lot of the drafting in game number 1. But again, Lane Zero Blizzard felt like they drafted too hard of a composition to execute in the later stages of the game, at least comparative to what Illinois had, and that became a big part of why they ended up losing. It was also just a handful of fights that went the way of Illinois Academy, a handful of one extra drag in the way of Lane Zero, something like that might have bought them the time they needed to push down a little bit more, but not certainly the case. I'm excited for game number 2 because of just how close game number 1 was.
And we are jumping in to picks and bans for game number 2. Like you said, it was neck and neck. It was one fight here, one fight there that really could have turned the game on its head, as we see very similar bans, Olaf Elise, Mordekaiser, all taken off right away. And I'm wondering if these teams do decide to adapt, or if they're just going to go head on and try and fix the mistakes they made in game number 1.
Yeah, staying on the same side, they're actually the exact same bans top to bottom. We'll see if the Misfortune is also taken off here to make sure Illinois Academy doesn't get their paws on that one. Is going to be the case. We'll see maybe if the Nidalee ban comes in instead of Lee Sin. I know Lee Sin also a very good champion here for Moody, but certainly Nidalee made its name in that last game, stomping the early game, being a lot of the problem here for the side of Illinois Academy. No, they do pivot towards the Cassiopeia.
Yeah, so Cassiopeia taken away from Kuderik, who early it seemed kind of like the Achilles heel, but late game, I mean, was unkillable and was just dishing out damage like it was his job. So that's the only ban that is going to be changed up here. Senna immediately first picked, and I mean, we're seeing a fairly similar draft already. I wonder now, without the Cassiopeia, who goes into the bottom.
If I have to say just a little bit about what we should see as a change from last game, the Trundle was fine. It didn't do great into the Nidalee specifically, but I'm curious whether they run the Nidalee a second time here. But bigger change that's absolutely necessary. You need a defensive champion for Lane Zero Blizzard. Got to be the Tom Catch. I would love to see Tom Catch here to make sure the Senna can't just get aggressed on and dive over and over and over again. It's not something that's Braheen's particular specialty. He likes the playmakers, likes things a little bit more. But like you saw what happened last game. Early on, they weren't able to do that. Now with the Misfortune, especially, if you make that your strong side for Illinois Academy, you're going to run over the game, especially in terms of team fights. You got to see Tom Catch. You got to see Braum. You got to see something here.
Lock in the set again.
Oh, they're doing the same thing.
Could be the same exact thing, or the set this time could be flexed. You said you wanted to see the Tom Catch. This time, again, they're going to let it go in the first round. They're not going to pick that up, so we'll see how the bans come. And just like last time, I would assume they're going to ban away the Tom Catch, ban away the Braum. And, well, actually, no, this is set support. So now Illinois actually have the upper hand here and can look to target these other lanes, can target the top lane. A Gangplank game for Quacker, again, who played huge, could ban away some of these counters to make sure this Gangplank gets even further ahead in this one.
Might be the case. The other thing, though, is that set could still be put into the top lane in flex pick. So if you don't burn the bans onto Tom Catch and onto Braum, you now have to worry about set being flexed back into the role he was intended for in the top lane, rather than being the support pick. This is I do like this. The Tom Catch at middle. If you leave Braum, I can understand it. The Senna Braum, you can still aggress against. Will be defensive into the Misfortune a little bit more. Will help out the Senna in that regard. But I don't think it's absolutely necessary. Like, if you have something you really don't want to see playing into the Gangplank, you can take that off the board. I would still like to see the Braum personally, but you don't have to on the side of Illinois Academy.
Yeah, and you could, I mean, this could even be the strategy here. Lane Zero Blizzard says, hey, we're going to flex this set. If they ban Tom Catch, it's going support. If they don't, then we pick the Tom Catch up and have set in the top lane as same bans come through. Tom Catch, Braum. Rakan actually taken off the board here, so a huge tool taken away from Wakanari, and then the Fizz ban to follow up. I mean, they're not afraid of the Echo. The Echo played very well. They weren't afraid of the Gangplank. They were more afraid of the Cassiopeia, which is strange to me, as the red 4 pickup for Academy going to be Karma, which I would imagine we see go down in the bottom lane just to supplement this Misfortune.
I think it is a flexible pick between the mid and the support role. It's definitely
Mhm.
a lot worse in the mid lane after like they took I think 20% of the AB scaling off for Q, which is massive for late game damage. But in fairness, the support wasn't hit all that bad. You don't build a ton of AP anyways, and it's pretty good into a defensive support. So if they pick something like Braum, like Morgana, like something else, we'll see if that's actually Kled. Let's spot that out for ourselves. That is Ezreal. So it's the Ezreal pick here. So you see Ezreal on your screen. That's not the Ezreal. It's the Ezreal first. We'll see what the comment. Now, that in my mind is indicative of Ezreal being maybe in the mid lane because, again, there's some DTS play there. But in my mind, it's Ezreal, Senna, bot lane where they're going to focus on the poke into the Misfortune Karma.
Could very well be to match there. And as they lock in. So again, Kled is Ezreal, Akali is Akali. And that's exactly what it could be. Try and get a little bit of damage onto DTS, a pick that he's pretty well known for. The Akali, you know, he's no slouch, this champion, and has more executability, can also look for the flanks, can get into the back line. We'll have now some more follow-up with the set here that is going to be in the hands of Will Win. He played the Aatrox phenomenally. Unfortunately, just got outscaled. So I'm excited to see how he plays this set pick, which may have a little more impact now that it's not support set.
Definitely. I still think it does get aggressed on. It can be poked out by the Gangplank early on, but certainly I think it's much better at dueling early in the game than the Aatrox, and you can still roam it around the map and try to have an impact in terms of fights comparative to what we saw in the last game as well. I'm also really interested in the Akali pick, whether or not they're going to... It's the Galio, which is really good in the Akali, especially early on in the game, but Akali's job late is not to touch the Galio, it's to assassinate Gangplank and to assassinate Misfortune. And if one of those two go down, you lose a very significant portion of your damage, especially since, again, Karma's not going to scale too well. Galio's damage is pretty high, but it's not going to scale all that well into the later stages as a frontliner, so it's really the Misfortune and Gangplank you're worried about.
And I'm excited to see Raheen on the Senna pick here. Having the 280 carries means that Sandillion can keep playing his aggressive style. He's on the Ezreal, but then you just have that follow-up consistent damage from Ezreal and more poke damage. You know, you're not necessarily lacking in that field, so you bring more poke to the table where Moody's already had so much. If he hit you with a spear, you immediately had to turn tail and run. So I'm excited to see the Ezreal pick here with Raheen on the Senna. This bot lane should be explosive. I'm assuming them to get the better half here, which could bring, like we saw in game one, the parties to the bot lane. Wherever Sandillion and Raheen were, there were 4 members of the Illinois Academy there, and I'm excited to see how they play this one out.
Definitely will be nice to see. Another important aspect of this game, again, with the Galio and the Trundle, that's your front line. But at the moment, I think it's going to be a struggle trying to get the Galio into the back line for the most part, so long as lane 0 plays properly. They've got the Nidalee, they've got the Ezreal, they've got the Senna, they've got the Set for a little bit of front line protection, and Akali is a backline diver. So, like, it's a difficult composition to actually engage onto because, again, Senna's going to be super far back in the fight. Nidalee's going to be super far back. Ezreal has the Arcane Shift, so he can play on the front foot, but then can immediately go back into the back line. So I think Trundle is going to find himself in a position where he's not going to find much. Now, Akali's actually the top laner, not shocking. I've seen that matchup into the Gangplank specifically. I think in the LPL they played a fair amount. And while, again, Akali's a very nerfed champion, they gave her some buffs to her ultimate, might have some kill pressure into the Gangplank, and he can't Q her when she's invisible, which makes it a very tough lane if she wants to all in when that Shroud goes down.
Yeah, in response, though, we've seen Quacker deal damage with his barrel. So if he's able to kind of play whack-a-mole and try and find the Akali in her shroud with the barrels, he can do just that. I love Dandito on the Galio pick here as well, because Galio, the recent changes now, whoever he ults, they receive a magic damage shield, and into the Akali, into the Nidalee, could very well keep you alive. And he can match the roams wherever, you know, if Akali's making plays, Set's making plays, Nidalee's making plays, you use the hero's entrance and you're immediately there with a huge knock-up and just disrupting the fight. So a different champion than what we saw before. The Echo is a little bit safer, but in this tanky mid laner, Galio, Dandito should have a pretty solid game.
Yeah, I would say that's the case, especially if he gets rolling a little bit early. The damage on Galio is really high early in the game, and he's very difficult to burn through as Ezreal if you're not on 3 items with a Blade of the Rune King in there. Senna probably won't do tons of damage to him throughout most of the game until the crit starts to come in after some leads out. Nidalee, going to be difficult to execute the Galio unless Moody is rolling once again on this pick. So it's a difficult matchup into the Galio just because he is that massive frontline that. Now, again, late game, not really going to matter. Galio's going to have damage, but it's not going to be enough to kill most of these backliners when they're so far back. It's going to be all about Akali's access to the Gangplank, to the Misfortune, and if they can eliminate those threats of damage, then the Galio is somebody you can just run down.
We'll have to pay attention to the objective control as well. Both teams paid a lot of attention to the Dragons and the Rift Heralds. They split the Rift Heralds, they split the Baron. Illinois Academy did manage to get the Dragon Soul, so we'll have to see if Lane Zero Blizzard are, a little more proactive when it comes to that buff and not just giving that one away here in game 2.
Certainly the case. I'm also still a little bit upset that lane 0 goes back to another really hard to execute on composition. They have Set in the mid lane for some frontline. That's pretty nice, and he's going to be able to duel into the Galio a lot better than the Akali, but again, no real true frontliner. Difficult like engage or trying to attempt to fight things along that lines means it's going to be a lot harder for lane 0 to execute on, whereas you have a very standard composition on the side of Illinois Academy. Misfortune's ultimate, Karma shields, Galio engaged, Trundle to drain any tank, which is nobody. In this case, it's the Set, but that's about all you've got. And Gangplank for some AoE damage as well. It makes it difficult if the game goes very standard for the side of lane 0 to win.
And the spectators here joining us for game number 2, we will be jumping in shortly. But you don't have to just be a spectator. You could join these teams on the front line here for Upsurge Esports. Right now, you can still sign up for the Upsurge Premier League until May 1st. And for the 3 following leagues, the Contenders League, which you're watching here today, the Minor League, and the Junior League, you have until May 17th to sign up. So make sure you're not missing the signups for that, because again, you don't just have to be a spectator. And before we jump in, a huge shout out to Midwest Esports. Midwest Esports has been around for many years, starting as a small student group out of Wichita State University. Since then, Midwest Esports has grown to be a veteran organizer to tournaments and events throughout the US. They host tournaments for games like League of Legends, Rocket League, as well as Overwatch. And for more information, you can check them out at midwestesports.com. And we've also got Kono Keyboard. If you're looking to take your game to the next level, it starts with your peripherals. From keyboards to keycaps, mice and more, our friends at Kono have got you covered. Kono works with the world's best designers, inventors, and makers to bring you some of the best gaming peripherals around. Kono have been huge supporters of us here at Upsurge and have made generous contributions to our prize pools. If you need to find a new keyboard, if you need to find a new keyboard, check out the Hex Gears X1 RGB low profile Bluetooth mechanical keyboard. You can use the discount code UpsurgeGG for 7% off your first order. And for more information, head over to kono.store to check out all they have to offer. That's KONO.store. Kono, discover amazing products. We're going to take a short break before jumping in. Don't go anywhere. Game number 2 between Illinois Academy and Lane Zero Blizzard. Welcome back, everybody. We wanted to make sure to give you enough time to grab your snacks, grab your drinks, make your popcorn, because we're going to have a banger of a game. Illinois Academy versus Lane Zero Blizzard, where Illinois Academy is up 1-0 in the best of 3. The teams have switched up a little bit, but we're still talking about the difficulties in the composition between or for Lane Zero Blizzard. Again, my name is Tanner Metro. I'm joined by Rebel, Fox, and Rebel. Do you want to talk about really the intricacies of this Lane Zero Blizzard team?
Yeah, like I said, with a large poke composition, it's about keeping your spacing and utilizing DTS's tankiness and his ability to CC champions as a barrier. It's all about zone control here from the side of Lane Zero, because if they control all the area around one of their frontliners, whether that would be a Kali, things of that sort, you're able to win team fights just off the back of, again, removing damage. Things like the Misfortune, things like the Gangplank, and even things, again, like like Dandito early on in the game. So that's what's going to be important, is if they play this hard-to-execute style where you keep the zone control for your poke champions, you should have enough damage to win team fights.
Yeah, and we're already seeing a few changes in the early game, whereas the junglers both started at the red, whereas last game they started on blue. And Quacker doing a good job here in the Gangplank, not getting too far behind and able to walk down to the blue buff, get some info so they can track Moody's, who absolutely went nuts last game. Played so well. Unfortunately, they didn't manage to pick up the win, but on that signature Nidalee pick, we'll see if he can get it done in this next one. And now, with the jungler starting on opposite sides, we'll have to see how they turn their attention in this game, because just like the matchup changed, or the lineup rather changed for Lane Zero Blizzard, you've got the Misfortune and Karma poke lane.
Yeah, that's going to be the case. We see, of course, Trundle heading down towards the bottom side of the map at the moment with a red buff into Krugs into blue. That's going to be the level 3 for him pretty quickly. Could also gank the mid lane, especially with good trading between those two mid laners.
Yeah, and he's got a little more utility to do just that. Now he's got the Justice Punch and the taunt from the Galio, the slow and the stun from the Focus Resolve, I believe it is, from Karma, whereas last game they didn't really have too much CC. They had the Recon, but that was really about it, unless Dandito was able to land a parallel convergence. So just supplementing the Trundle pick a little bit more. But early, we already see Moody's off to a good start, getting a slight lead in CS, which he's been able to do. He was actually the only member of the team last game who was ahead of his counterpart in CS and in levels, as Wilwin is not doing too bad on the top lane, just as we expected. The Justice Punch, though, coming down. DTS gets taunted up, but the Haymaker keeps him alive. The Winds of War not going to find too much in an interesting interaction there, where Dandito has to be careful with that Justice Punch, or else he's not going to be able to get away.
Yeah, it is a tough one. The Facebreaker can chain CC him after the E does land, but the one reprieve to that is, of course, the Aftershock. It's a nice rune to have, keeps him nice and tanky, make sure that the set doesn't have to worry about it. But the Haymaker with true damage means doesn't care about that all too much. So when that Haymaker is stacked, even if you do a lot of damage to the set in the immediate fight with your Justice Punch, potentially with those Winds of War, you still got to be terrified you're going to get hit with the true damage, and he's going to trade all of it back.
Yeah, Moody's and Sushi Killer doing a little bit of counter jungling for themselves. Mountain Drake is going to be blessing us with his presence this game. We didn't see it last game, so those resistances are going to feel pretty good. And if you're the Trundle and you give that Drake up, you just steal him away again with the Subjugate there. So we'll have to see again. Illinois Academy focused the dragon early, picked up, or rather Lane Zero Blizzard focused the jungle. Holy Jesus Christ. Dragon went to Lane Zero Blizzard early. I do not know why. I cannot spit this out. So we'll have to see if they do the same thing. We saw them get the first dragon, rotate to the top lane, and grab the first Rift Herald, and then from there it kind of fizzled out. So I'm excited to see interested to see if they're staying proactive, if they're able to keep that momentum in for these objectives.
That's correct. We've seen Moody already attempt 2 ganks into both the top and the mid lane. So far, not able to land a spear and get either of those two together. Not to say the Gangplank or the Galio are particularly gankable, just the fact that his attempts are coming through and they're keeping them uneasy across the board as well. Not to mention, he's gone back to farming, took the Raptor camp away from the Trundle, and that got reset really recently, so it's going to throw off the pathing here from Trundle. It got taken before the Krugs had spawned. Now, what he could do is he could reverse his pathing by going Gromp into Wolves and then coming back to mid lane to gank DTS, especially since DTS just returned to lane, I believe. No, he didn't. Yeah, he's looking to push for his first back, so that's a pretty rough place to be. Instead, going to opt for the Dragon.
Yeah, and Trundle no slouch. He also has his bot lane here, as the bot lane did recall from lane 0 Blizzard. And just like you said, DTS trying to shove this out, look for a recall himself, which just nets you free resistances. There's going to be no resistance in taking this dragon, and they will get the 6% armor and magic resistance, which is going to bode well for, you know, the Galio when he starts to build tanky. The Gangplank, if he chooses to build that way as well. Last time we saw a complete glass cannon from Quacker, and so we'll have to see if he decides to go that same way. The Trundle from Sushi Killa wasn't the tankiest, but got it done in the first game. But now with that dragon, we'll again just have some more supplemented resistances.
Definitely going to be the case. Not the most impactful Drake in terms of anything else. Actually, interestingly, the most efficient use of the flat stacks of a Mountain Drake comes at 100 armor and armor and magic resist. That's the point where you have enough armor and magic resist to give you enough resistance to damage from those particular objects without giving you, without having too much to the point where you're getting diminishing return from having additional armor and magic resist. That tends to happen somewhere in the realm of about 150 to 200 armor and magic resist. So really tanky people don't get as much damage resistance from a Mountain Drake because they have too much armor and magic resist. That it just doesn't matter as much as somebody with less.
The man with all the facts, as Raheen and Sandelian trading out some damage. I mean, it's just poke for poke down there in the bottom lane. The Illinois Academy bot lane do manage to grow themselves small lead as they force Ezreal underneath the turret, and Ezreal Sandelian opts into the Tear of the Goddess, going to try and stack up that Mermana as quick as possible, which means the skirmishes, they're probably not going to happen on the bottom side. So maybe we pay a little more attention to that top lane, as Moody's is just going to clear some vision down here and maybe looks for something. Raheen gets almost deleted there. So much damage coming out from the Mantra Q there. Wakanari, he completely flips the script from engage support to caster and is now trying to get it done. But on the top side, Quacker forced to use the ultimate. Will win, just going to kite away for now. Sushi Killa is in the area, not necessarily spotted out, but Will win is he's smarter than that. He knows if Quacker's going ham in this matchup, maybe somebody's close.
Yes, has a set for that kind of blood in the water shark feel. Has a sixth sense for himself. Small engage, yeah, not even going to come close to this one. Importantly, again, I want to make mention actually of this bottom lane. Wakanari, you said he was on the engaged champion last game. Rakan was the choice. Believe it or not, this man's champion pool is filled to the brim. The Chanters, wow.
The damage coming out, the burst in return forces not only the barrier, but the flash away from Kudrik and on a very immobile Misfortune.
Yeah, we saw that same play happen a second ago, but with the Karma. This time it was literally hitting Kuderik on the Misfortune. Both of the AD, or I was going to call him an ADC. Raheen and Kuderik both had to burn their barriers afterwards to make sure there's no follow-up. Now, here's the thing I will note. Later in the game, the Karma's not going to be able to do that. You know who will? Moody. That's the important thing. Those spears have to be dodged out with the Misfortune mobility as the game continues, or else you're going to have that chunk out consistently. Will win.
Doesn't have the ultimate just yet, but he does force the flash, so he will have that. The Dawning Shadow is not going to find the damage there, so Raheen trying to do what he can from across the map, just not able to get enough. And had Will Win not used, or had to use his ultimate to get out in that last fight, he could have found himself a solo kill, but with that damage forcing Quacker back to the base, he'll grow a nice CS lead.
That he will. Okay, interesting thing that you're seeing right now. TP from Gangplank as well as the play on the top side of the map. So when you know that something is happening on the top side of the map, like the Rift Herald take, which should have been, at least should be theorized at the moment, especially now that you see Set re-entering, you're going to see a TP on the bottom side of the map. There is no response from Quacker. He used his global and his TP already.
Yeah, Will Win just on the front line. Wakanar goes down. That's going to be first blood, and now Sushi Killa under fire. He does get rooted up. A nice bullet time from Kudrik. Forces everybody to disperse, but Sandelian once more. He jumps forward with the Arcane Shift, and it's just going to be a little bit of poke damage as Moody's up in the top lane. He's got the Rift Herald, and he'll keep this lane alive. The barrel not going to find its mark. Moody does find the spear, though. The Hex Drinker shield coming out. Quacker is safe for now, and Moody's has to be careful. He jumps forward with the pounce. He has a swipe. He has a flash, and Moody's grabs one for himself. 2 kills in favor of Lane 0 Blizzard.
About as mean as you can get on this Nilly. You see just the tactical proficiency that he has, being able to continually hit the spears, hit the traps, keep that mark up available so that he can use this Panther stance to completely eradicate this Gangplank. Putting Quackers behind on the opposite side of the map after Will Win had teleported. Okay, play mid lane.
Yeah, speaking on the opposite side, Dandito's gonna get chunked down. Sushi Killer, though, has to be careful because he's pretty low as well. DTS gonna pick up one, and now Dandito forced under the turret, and the flex from DTS comes out. And both of them underneath half HP, and DTS takes advantage.
That he does. Again, it's difficult to brawl with the set early on in the game, especially when you have the Bilge Water Cutlass available. And Sushi Killer comes into the fight, no ultimate, almost like under half health, expecting that the ultimate coming through from the Gangplank is going to turn the fight, but he cannot take that duel when he has no AD, has no ability to actually take the fight into DTS. And the Flash Phase Breaker was really close to hitting both of them, and I really was hoping that I was going to give him the double kill, but fortunately able to get the one onto the Trundle, punishing that low health engage and counter game.
And Lane Zero Blizzard secure themselves an Infernal Drake. Just as I said last time, so very smooth and crisp. There were no mix-up when I was saying that about the last game. In the mid lane, though, after that kill, DTS taking a look up almost 40 CS over Dandito on the set. And I mean, what can't this guy do? He played Syndra masterfully. He got the solo kill early and played the champion so well throughout the late. You put the Rift Herald down, you put more money in his pockets. He's got the completed Blade of the Ruined King. Where does it stop for DTS?
I don't know. It's going to be difficult. This is sort of indicative of the fact that maybe they want to play a 1-3-1 composition with DTS in a side lane, given the Blades of the Ruined King. I know it's a strong item, but certainly not you would want if you want to be the more tanky frontliner. That would be Black Cleaver, Guardian Gargoyle, Stoneblade, things of that sort. But we're seeing the Blade of the Ruined King go because he wants to punish Dandito's laning phase, which he's done immaculately. But again, that's not a frontline set for the most part. That's a lot squishier of a set that can be blown up by something like Misfortune and Gangplank late game. So I think, again, you want to put him in a side lane, pull Galio away from the fight, and then you want to apply pressure with Moody, with Ezreal, and with Raheen in that mid lane across the thing. Now, especially with both mid towers taken, that's not a viable option since you want your bot lane pushing somewhere on the map, but they continue to put pressure. That's the second game in a row now also that they picked up both mid towers.
Yeah. And with that, I mean, we're already seeing just shy of a 5,000 gold lead. Last time this happened, the gold was so close. There was, I think, less than 1,000 gold difference until we really broke in the late game. But there's the flank there from DTS, and Sildillion gets one for himself. Again, what can't this guy do? He's looking for a recall. So on the way out, he says, why don't I find an assist as well?
Absolutely the case. And last game, this is what should have been happening from the side of Lane Zero Blizzard pretty much the whole time. Like, this is what they needed in the early game to really happen. Moody was making this happen. DTS was having some good plays. But really across the map, they weren't winning always in every lane because that bot lane, as we said, 4-man constantly. This game, not even close to having it.
And Barrage, Moody's is up here, though. Quackers, he's going to get the shield from Galio, but it's going to be enough. Yes, it is. Now underneath the turret, he'll stay safe. As Moody's tries to find a way out. Here comes Sushi Killer, and Moody's, it's a 2v1, you gotta go, buddy. He's got the heals, but it should not be enough. Dandito secures that one for himself, and now Whirlwind forced to run away. Sildillion pushing Wakanari out of lane as well. A nice Mystic shot on top of the Essence Flux means a couple of plates for this Lane Zero Blizzard bot lane.
And not to mention, again, with the mid lane being completely cracked, they can't leave DTS there on his own, so Derek has to rotate, which buys time for this bottom tower to potentially go down here. Yeah, that's going to be the dead bottom tower in exchange for the 1-kill top lane into Moody's with multiple ultimates expended. Feels very offset in terms of value, especially given the fact what we saw last game was constant plays onto the duo lane. This time, they try to punish Whirlwind, can't make that happen. They get a kill on Moody's, but they lose so much map pressure from that bottom lane play because of the 2 lost mid towers. Looking a lot better for Lane Zero in this one.
And now DTS is going to get spotted out trying to take the jungle. He will get taunted up as well. Finds himself in a 3v4, but a beautiful haymaker keeps him alive for now. Trades back a little bit of damage, and the bullet time does not find enough. So at the end of everything, both of these teams just going to disengage with just a bit of poke damage. But Dandito, you got to be careful because that haymaker does not feel good.
No, it does not. Nearly brings him down. Flash and Ghost burnt for Dandito, utilizing these 2 summoner spells alongside the Nimbus Cloak to get himself in better position for the W. But the second he channeled that, got face breakered by DTS. He can't get a stun off onto anybody, let alone onto all 3 members to follow up on the fight. Well played by DTS again. As you were saying, man can do anything, and he's playing a frontline set very, very well right now.
He's playing so unafraid, and as you said, he's not building this crazy tank set. You know, it looks like he may be going into the Black Cleaver here, so he's going to be lacking some resistances. It's just not enough. The champion alone has been enough for DTS to keep himself alive. And on Raheen, when Raheen played it, rather, we saw a lot of the times, or a couple of times, he used that haymaker and it was just a little too late. Whereas here, so much damage is negated, and he like started that fight with half HP and leaves the fight with half HP. So solid plays there by DTS. And I mean, he's roaming in the jungle, taking away camps. He's looking for fights, finding flanks. He's really being able to do it all, and he's really supplementing his team well. It's not just Moody's this game.
That's correct, yeah. The important part about this game also in terms of the way that it is played out mechanically is just the fact that at no point has there been any priority at all on Willwin or Sindillion in Raheem. There's been a couple of plays, couple of fights back and forth.
Oh, Kudrik goes up, and what goes up must come down. A DTS going to pick that one up. The Dawning Shadow is not going to be enough to get Raheen a kill or an assist, but DTS is fine in the 2v1. He's not worried. A Sushi Killer, a couple of auto attacks, chunks him down to half HP, and DTS still moving forward. He's holding that W key. He's not afraid on this set pick.
No, he is not. Making sure to continue to run forward. Insanely, like almost at the point where he is at raid boss status, just because of the fact that he is so powerful right now with this haymaker and this play of the runes combination. He nearly half health Sushi Killer with about 2 autos with the knuckle down, and Sushi Killer just bailed on that fight the second afterward. They had 4 people around him, and they can't make it work. That's how strong DTS is right now. Gonna buy them a second Drake, and like I said, worst case scenario, if it plays out like last game, buys them another Drake to not have to fight for in terms of the Ocean Soul, just because of the way that it's playing out. Very, very well done, and puts them in potential to get another Cloud Drake. That's good for DTS, good for Sindillion, good for Raheen, good for Willwin especially. He already got buffs to that ultimate cooldown, now even lower with that Cloud Drake.
Yeah, and if they do manage to get the soul, when DTS and Willwin ult into the back line, the bonus movement speed that they're going to get from using that ultimate is just going to allow them to literally touch whoever they want. If you're having problems touching that back line, that Cloud Drake immediately going to mitigate that, or the Cloud Soul rather, immediately going to mitigate that. So good on them for playing early here. And again, just the cooldown reduction as a whole. It's not very great on Moody's and the Nidalee, but everybody else on the team is going to be able to benefit from that dragon. As now we find a 2v2, make it a 3v2 or a 4v2 as Raheen's on the back line. Sushi Killer does go down to the perfect execution. And now Quacker underneath the turret. He used the cannon barrage already. Is it going to be enough to keep him alive? Quacker underneath half HP. He's dodging the skill shots though as Wakanari makes his way up and finds a kill onto Moody's. And now Sandillion goes down as well. This immediately turns on its head. And Quacker is a madman staying alive in this one. And now Kudrik wants more. The bolt time comes out. Not going to be enough to find Raheen, unfortunately. But what a play, what a turnaround, and a 2-for-1 for Illinois Academy.
It was a nice play underneath the tower. They had the outnumber really quickly. They weren't sure who they had to have tank the tower to start with, and they decided on Moody. The big issue with this is that the Q from the Panther stance, we see a re-engage and a Willwin here.
Yeah, Willwin finds himself a 2v1, tries to find Quacker, but not going to be enough as Wakanari again finds another kill, a shutdown at that. So he's got a nice bit of gold in his pockets, and the Dawning Shadows just miss from Raheen.
Yeah, honestly, Raheen's Dawning Shadows have been lackluster this game. I don't think he's hit a single enemy that he's been aiming for thus far. I don't mean to flame Raheen, but yeah, you gotta use that ultimate in a much better way, or at least try to hit the target, because right now it looks like he's not even aiming when he's throwing this out. Just a little bit too fast for him. Again, that fight went very sideways. I think a big part of it was, again, Moody not able to get the Q off in the Panther stance against Quackers underneath the tower. That would have brought him down to maybe 200 health. He hit the tower with it while landing the jump in with the W, which I think caused the tower to jump onto him, but got none of the damage off that he needed to continue to dive with everybody else. And I think that was the big issue. Then there wasn't enough damage on Willwin and Raheen afterwards to get the kill, and that was the big problem during the dive.
And it's so very hard to kill a Gangplank. It's almost impossible without the CC. You know, the Nidalee, the Ezreal, they don't really have the CC there for it. And if you do have CC, if you manage to land the snare there, or the root rather, from the Senna, he just removes Scurvies and he's fine. And now they're looking for another dive, and we'll see if they're able to be better this time and actually find something. You don't want to trade kills to Quacker because he's so insane. There's the ultimate now coming down. Willwin. Sandillion actually taking turret aggro. The turret goes down though to the Rip Trail, so they're going to find that kill as Kudrik makes his way in. Not going to use that bullet time. And now DTS wants more. Moves forward with the knuckle down, but not going to find anything except for a pillar of ice. But what a huge play there. We were talking about the turret dive, completely mitigated by the Rift Herald, and then they find a Quacker for the kill. But now DTS looking for more, forces the flash out of Wakanari. He gets rooted up. True Shot Barrage comes through. A beautiful bullet time. The barrier's going to be enough. Raheem stays alive, and now Wilwin on the back line has to be careful. Sushi Killer in his face and gets chunked out immediately. It was so squishy, even through the subjugate. He has to run away. Dandito makes his way into the fight, but he's only going to find himself a pink ward.
Yeah, talking about that dodge just a little bit again. Well executed this time because they didn't commit to it until the Rift Herald had broken the tower. They were a lot more patient in this one. Also, the fight afterwards could have been amazing for them. That Pillar of Ice saved a DTS flash into a facebreaker that would have killed Kuderic almost definitely with the rest of the team behind. The fight ensuing in the jungle shows also the mobility. Sindelian's hard to get on, Raheem's hard to kill, all things said and done with the healing from McHugh, and even Wilwin, difficult to get onto after all things. So like it is not an easy composition to find a full engage into outside of Dandito. Dandito has to find some of the taunts and get multiple targets in it because he is going to be able to buy the space for Kuderic to do damage, for Quackers to do damage come the late game.
And another dragon spawning here in just under 30 seconds as both teams taking their recalls, want to heal up before this fight breaks out. Look for some vision, which we saw Lane Zero Blizzard struggle with. Not so much the vision, but more so the decision for the vision. Warding around Baron when they're fighting around the dragon. So we'll have to see how they play this one out. It should be a clean 5v5. And, I mean, with no tank frontline, Lane Zero Blizzard should not be scared. DTS is so huge, and he's using that Haymaker beautifully that he can be your frontline. He can have that shield, and now they're looking for the fight. There's the Make It Rain. Going to slow everybody down for now. Wilwin is waiting in the wings here in that banana bush. Might look for a flank or try and find a pick here. Wakanari going to step up, but has to be careful. Not going to be found out as Gangplank makes his way down to the bottom side. Will we see the fight? The Cannon Barrage is available. There's a True Shot Barrage as well. Sushi Killer gets ulted by DTS, but he does not go down. Wakanari does, though. The bullet time comes out, and it finds nobody but your own teammates. Wilwin's going to get soloed out. The Dragon does go over to Moody's for now. Quacker's in a bad spot as well. Dandito goes down, and Quackers falls on top of it all. The Dragon and 3 kills in return for 1. A solid trade for Lane Zero Blizzard, and they're continuing to siege. They want more. Raheem dropping the auto attacks. He's got the snares onto Kudrick. Kudrick uses the barrier. It's just not enough. Now the only remaining member is Sushi Killer. A 4-for-1 in favor of Lane Zero Blizzard. A dragon on top of it all, and maybe a Baron.
It's such a well set up fight here from the side of Lane Zero. They did a good job of it. The approach here from the side of Illinois Academy is, again, they want to use Dandito, want to use Sushi Killer to try to pillar somebody off, get a bunch of taunts to set up a team fight, but it's so hard with Civilian, with Moody's, with everybody and all of this mobility, and DTS is also this massive deterrent that prevents everybody from just walking in, because DTS will tear your team to shreds if he is allowed to showstopper either the Galio or this Trundle. So because of that, they set up a phenomenal team fight. I do believe Wilwin went down during that fight. He's a relatively squishy Akali. Isn't quite to the point where he is a powerhouse that can dive anybody he wants and kill anybody he wants, but certainly the rest of the team starting to get to the point where they're snowballing this game hard enough that their damage is too high, even with a better engage for the side of Illinois Academy to deal with.
And Wakanari, he took a little bit of damage as the fight kicked off. He ate the True Shot Barrage. DTS ulted Sushi Killer on top of him and then haymakered and immediately was out of the fight, which is, I mean, a little bit of damage, but on top of that, you're so much shield for your team and mobility to be able to get in and out of these fights. Such a solid play. Again, the set in the mid lane coming from the Syndra and the rest of the champions that he's played, you know, the Echo, not necessarily in this game, but in other series, playing this champion masterfully. And for Lane Zero Blizzard, this is now a viable flex pick for you. Maybe the support lane needs a little bit of work, but you can flex it jungle, top, mid between these 3 champions or these 3 players who've been playing these champions masterfully.
And Raheem's set wasn't actually that bad either. I think it's just the Senna paired with the set isn't a particularly good grab. But again, as you said, a quadra-flex pick into these games is going to be terrifying to deal with if you're Illinois Academy. You almost have to ban out the set and leave something else up. Oh, yeah. Play back and
a little bit of damage comes out. Kudrick again chunked out though before these fights are able to kick off. We saw this a bunch in game number 1 as Moody's finds Wakanari, but not going to jump in just yet. On the bottom side though, Wilwin, he's got the teleport available, takes the tier 2, and now, I mean, where do you stop the bleeding if you're Illinois Academy? You're down just for 10,000 gold, 6 turrets to 0, and they're just pushing your base.
Yeah. Again, they set up the 1-3-1 with DTS with the Blade of the Ruin King, and I think this is where you have to aggress into the 3-man or into DTS. Quacker's not going to get that. Not a chance unless somebody else comes up and helps
DTS, he
him.
fights on top of him, doesn't have
Oh.
the Haymaker available. It looked like a good fight there for DTS for a second. Quackers jumped in and took 2 auto attacks and immediately had to run away, but the Cannon Barrage gets it done. The mid lane inhibitor is going to be, or the mid lane inhibitor turret rather, for Illinois Cat, going to go down for now. They are up a member, and a very strong member down for lane 0 Blizzard. Ezreal does 2 completed items and does have the poke of damage to follow up. The True Shot Barrage finds the snipes, and Dillian now on a killing spree. So in a 4-for-4, lane 0 Blizzard looking for the fight. Raheem maybe finds another route. No, he does not. Wilwin goes on the back line. Moody's murders Kudrik on the backside on that Nidalee. And now Quacker's forced to run away. Wilwin does go down to the Galio ultimate, but Dandito falls as well. Will fall, and now Sushi Killer forced to try and make it back to the fountain, but he's gonna get hunted down by Sendilian. A triple kill on the Ezreal. They're trying to take the inhibitors. They've got the minions, and the only member alive is gonna be Wakanari in 7 seconds. This could be the end of the game. You've got the set, you've got the Ezreal.
Yeah, I think it is going to be the end of the game. Super, super well-played game from lane 0. This is how they envisioned game 1 going with such a hard-to-play composition. They did a phenomenal job utilizing DTS in the early game, winning that lane so hard against the Galio. There is no pressure that can be turned against them because of just how powerful the set is. Eventually, Sindillion scaled up easily. Nobody pressured that bot lane like we saw in game number 1. Will win. Wasn't collapsed on, had a pretty free railing takes, wasn't the most impactful, but the Akali certainly made an impact in those fights when she was engaging on one of your backliners. And Moody's once again popping off on the Nidalee, being that backline assassin, making sure they can kill anybody. Super well played game from lane 0.
And Quackers leading the damage chart, trying to do what he can to keep his team alive. But as you said, no focus in the bottom lane means Sendilian and Raheen can just take control of the game. And then across the rest of the map, DTS and Will Win played so well. If you don't win the lane against Quackers, which it appears very hard to do when he's got the gangplank, at the very least, you can go even and then make plays around the map, which is exactly what we saw as lane 0 Blizzard takes game number 2 and brings us to a game number 3. And I mean, not to say that I called it, but this has been an absolute banger of a match. Going to game 3 in a best of 3, it feels so good. And now, coming off of game 1, I would think, well, Illinois Academy, they're looking pretty good. They might take this one. And immediately the flip gets script, or the flip gets script. The script gets flipped. And we're going to game number 3. And again, just a game you cannot miss here. These teams are blood in, blood out, putting everything on the line in the quarterfinals.
That they are. Going to be a very contested game number 3. Game number 1 was super competitive between the two teams. And I think compositionally, Illinois Academy should be winning these drafts, but around the map, they can't mess with the disorder that's being raised by lane 0 across the board. I think they need to make some significant drafting changes, not just to bans, but I think to some of their picks as well, to allow themselves a little more power in the early game, put more focus into what they're doing in early and mid, so that they have some objectives to complete, so that's not just Moody's running rampant around the map, DTS running rampant in the mid lane, things of that sort.
We will have to see how these teams decide to rest, refit, and come back and go to the drawing board and see what they can come up with. Like you said, picks and bans, things need to change if Illinois Academy are going to contest the lane 0 Blizzard squad aim number 3. But as I said, game number 3, we're going to be there in just a moment. You do not want to miss it. Do not leave your seats. We're going to have another electric match for you here in just a moment. Game number 3 joining us here in just a moment. Summoner's Rift is going to be occupied by Illinois Academy and Lane Zero Blizzard. If you're just joining us, my name is Tanner Metro, and I'm accompanied by Rebel Fox. We're all tied up 1-1. If electrifying isn't the word to describe this matchup, how would you describe it, Rebel?
I think electrifying hits the nail on the head. Maybe volatile, aggressive. There's plenty of words you could use about both these teams and how they've been doing through this series. I also love the fact that they haven't switched sides the whole time because they just want to bash their heads against each other in the same way.
Absolutely. As we are jumping into the draft here, similar bans except Illinois Academy, they're beginning to respect the set pick. We talked about it. It could be essentially quad flexed throughout all of the lanes, and that's going to be the only change that they make. And Senna going to be the first pick here.
I wonder if that's going to come through. Rakan going to be grabbed to make sure that they have that one available for themselves. We'll see also if they want to opt for the Trundle for the 3rd game in a row. It has been bullied for the most part by the Nidalee pick. Yeah, it's finally going to be something different with a Varus. Not a phenomenal protective pick. I know Rakan does do quite a bit, but the Tahm Kench being left up, they're going to give this one over to the Senna potentially. Yeah, it's going to be the Tahm Kench Senna into the Varus. Rakan really like that, and the Nidalee grabbed as well.
Yeah, and automatically, right off the rip, you're seeing such a strong team being built here for Lane Zero Blizzard. We've seen both Sandillion and Raheen play the Senna pick. It is going to be back in the hands of Sandillion, as he'll have that Tahm Kench to keep him safe. Nocturne going to be picked up here for Sushi Killa. You said it. Trundle been kind of bullied out in the last couple of games, so they're going to switch it up and play somebody who can really be proactive and get it done.
Yeah, I am a little curious whether that's flexible to the mid lane / the top lane. I know like a solo lane Nocturne is something that's a little popular, but that's a very, very niche pick. I don't know if Dandito plays it at all. I would expect it to be the jungle pick just because, again, the Trundle hasn't been working out and seems probably trying for a little bit more.
Yeah, and the bans actually changed up a little bit. They respect the Gangplank as well. They don't want Quacker on that pirate that he's been dominating on. And then Camille going to be taken away from Will Win in the top lane. They lock in Ornn, and immediately as you look at this team, you're thinking scaling. You've got the Varus, you've got the Ornn, who's going to be able to help out the rest of the team and be a beefy front line that was absent in game number 2. And I mean, you spoke about the Rakan Varus. That's a scary lane. Rakan wants to go forward, and Varus doesn't really have the ability to do that. So it's going to be really interesting. The bot lane has had so much of my attention in these past couple of games, and I wonder if that's going to be the case in this one, as Maokai will be locked in. Is this going to be Maokai mid? The Bjergsen and Maokai mid, with the Lucian coming through as well as could be. This is interesting as to what Wilwin has played before. He played the Aatrox, he played the Akali, and now maybe this?
Man, I'm in love with BTS Aurelia. It's one of my favorite champions to watch him play. I got to assume that that's going to be the case. It's flexible into the Ornn lane as well. The Maokai top lane is a stone wall to make sure nothing can happen. In fact, Lane Zero entirely, here's what their game plan was last time. They wanted to play really heavily around both Moody and DTS, and their side lanes didn't need to get ganked. That is exactly the game plan coming into this one. Senna Tahm Kench, almost impossible to do anything into. Maokai, a stone wall tank that sustains himself fine. Not going to have that issue for themselves. Or Nidalee Aurelia, great pick for the proactive duo.
Yeah, and we see the Trundle picked, and this time around should be a solid pickup. You've got a huge couple of the Maokai, the Tahm Kench, and even the Aurelia who's going to get beefy. You have 3 big targets, whereas last game you really only had this set, and even then he was building just straight health. So the Trundle could be huge here, and you called it the flex from the Nocturne pick.
Yeah. It's an interesting one because, again, I don't know whether it... Like, the Maokai seems like the better lane opponent just because Aurelia does have pretty decent mobility, pretty decent kind of, like, consistent damage to maybe compete against the Nocturne. More often, though, I would assume the Nocturne would be mid just because it loves access to both top and bottom lane to be able to move around the map a little bit more. Has good wave clear as well. So the intention behind Illinois Academy's Nocturne pick is, I assume, to out wave clear the opposing Aurelia and then be able to go to those side lanes. So whereas in game number 2, where they didn't have any roam potential, game 1, when they were winning, they were able to make those 4-man collapses to the bottom lane and, sometimes to that top lane. This is the game they're going to do the same thing. They want to move the Nocturne and the Trundle around the map to get the Varus ahead, to get the Ornn rolling so that they have the access to those team fights that they've been looking for.
Absolutely. Game number 2 downfall from Dandito was that he had the Galio, he just couldn't really move with it. We only saw a couple of good ultimates, one coming in at the end and he's able to find a knockup, find a kill. But like you said, the Nocturne supplements his playstyle. He will be able to roam a bit more. And Aurelia, she's not great at clearing the waves, whereas Nocturne has his passive. It's resetting after every auto attack. She'll be able to push her in, move around the map until DTS gets a few items, assuming that, okay, so it is Maokai locked in the top lane. So until DTS gets a couple of items, he's going to have a hard time matching the wave pushing to keep Dandito in a lane on the Nocturne. I'm so very excited. I am a little afraid of this bot lane. Again, Varus Rakan.
About that. No, the Varus.
Okay, no, yeah, no. Let's hear it. This is a switch up for us.
I wanted to talk about this a little bit because the possibility is there. Trundle has always been considered a tank killer, like 100% of the time. That was like his #1 niche back in the day when tanks were played. Trundle got played because he's really good into tanks, especially ones with not a lot of mobility. Maokai has a little bit in the W, but not a ton. And Trundle bullies tanks. They take a matchup that would be good in the team fighting phase where Trundle drains the Maokai, prevents the engage, pills off people, now makes it the permanent matchup against the Maokai. Now this Trundle can be very aggressive into Maokai and win the solo lane himself, and the Nocturne now has the ability to move to the top stand, gets the ability to deny with the Ornn pick in the mid lane, and their bottom lane can move forward if Nocturne wants to play. Now they're playing around Sushi Killer, and they have strong lanes to work with.
Yeah, and if you're not following along, it is in front of you, but the Nocturne locked into the jungle, Trundle into the top lane. So everything that Rebel was breaking down is because we are going to get a top lane Trundle. Wow. It puts Dandito in a weird spot. He has to play the Ornn. He's not going to be able to roam and help his team as much as he wanted to. Like you said, had huge success. When the bot lane was bot lane, there's 4 people fighting Sendilian and Raheen. Even when they roamed up top and they had switched it up to try and lane swap here and play around that Rift Herald, again, they looked for a 4-man dive and they picked up a couple of kills. So the Ornn not really going to be able to supplement that, but huge engage tools in the Nocturne, in the Ornn. Varus being able to follow up. And you've also got the Rakan on top of it all, which Wakanari played so well in game #1. If Lane Zero Blizzard are trying to play this poke game or try and play things safe, immediately Illinois Academy are just going to throw it all in your face.
Absolutely. They have a ton of that engage with the Nocturne and the Ornn ultimate, especially from a long distance, which honestly, that's my one fear, is that Varus is the only true damage dealer on this team, and his range is high, but it's not that high. Okay, now they're just going to prank us by moving everything around. All right.
Great.
Thanks,
Great.
Everybody. Thanks. Now all that analysis is gone. We go back to what we had in game #1. All right, that's perfectly fine. We'll talk about the bot lane a little more because, again, the only true damage dealer on this team outside, like Nocturne has pretty good damage. Even late game, it's not terrible. But Varus is the only real true damage threat on this team consistently in the late game. He doesn't have the most ridiculous amount of range to play with, especially given the parameters of a Nocturne ultimate, an Ornn ultimate, a Rakan jumping from player to player, getting into the backline. It's going to be difficult to move Kuderic up, especially with Aurelia. She throws the ultimate, he can aggress onto it. Nidalee hits a spear, goes onto the Varus. That's my one fear for this team, is that if they can't get Kuderic ahead and into the fights to press the damage when its engage comes through, it could be a little rough for them.
Absolutely. They've got all of the tools to get into the back line with the way that this has played out. And Sendilian, Raheen, Senna, Tom Kench can play safe. You really have that fail safe in the Tom Kench this game because it was not banned away. Another big pick gonna be Moody's. He is the AP damage, the majority, if not all, aside from the Maokai, who'll do a little bit, but it's not gonna be too much. And he's played this Nidalee incredibly well in both games. In the wins and the losses, he is playing phenomenally. There's no respect from Illinois Academy taking this away from him, trying to ban it or play it themselves. So that does go through for game #3. And I would just like to segue this into saying, if you think that you could be better than Moody's Nidalee, we want to see it. We want you to get your squad together and join us here on Upsurge Esports. Signups until May 1st for the Upsurge Premier League, and signups until May 17th for the Contender League, the Minor League, and the Junior League. You can grab your team and join us here. You don't just have to be a spectator. You can be on Summoner's Rift with us here, which we will be here in a moment for game #3 between Lane Zero Blizzard and Illinois Academy. Quarterfinals between these two teams. Both of these teams undefeated going into this one for their series. Who is going ahead to the semifinals? You don't want to miss it. Lane Zero Blizzard, Illinois Academy in just a moment. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen, game number 3. The sides haven't switched, but the champion picks have. Lane Zero Blizzard go toe-to-toe against Illinois Academy. My name is Tanner Metro, and I am joined by Rebel Fox. Again, we said an electrifying series. This game should not disappoint. How are you feeling about this one?
I'm just ecstatic to see it continue, man. I've never gotten to see this much niddly from Moody for a long time. Most of the time, people ban it out, and it has been completely unfazed on the side of Illinois Academy to just continue letting it through, continue taking the trundle into it. As well as, I mean, DTS's performance in this has been amazing as well. On the opposite side, they're playing so well together. They played so well together in that first game. I'm excited to see if they can continue to pull off team fights, because for me, Illinois Academy, again, they've been winning the drafts most of the time. This is the one game where I feel like it's a little more even across both teams, but those first 2 games, it came down to execution, weren't able to make it happen, so now test is theirs.
Yeah, and you've got, I mean, even is the best way to describe it. You've got the tanky matchup in the top lane that should just be a farm fest. Your junglers, we've seen Moody get the better half of things. He'll have a bit more damage, damage in the mid lane, damage in the bot lane. Quickly, though, your damage will be mitigated if you walk right into Quacker on the Ornn. But your damage will be mitigated by the 2 exhausts on the side of Lane Zero Blizzard. So switch ups in the summoner spells means that Raheen is going to take the cleanse to get out of safety, or to get to safety. And that allows Sandillion and DTS to have the exhaust for their matchups.
Yeah, pretty nice to have that, especially in the mid lane matchup against the Nocturne. I know how annoying the Nocturne all-in can be if you're a mid lane. Pretty much any mid laner will die to an all-in from Nocturne most of the time, especially if he beats you to level 6. So having that exhaust, a great safety net, or at least a deterrent to make sure that Dandito has to pick and choose his opportunity for an all-in, more than just kind of go in whenever he feels like it. Also want to point out really quickly, Ornn in the top lane started with the refuelable pot because he wanted to see what the start was potentially from Willwin, and now he's going to wait around, now buys the door and shield to reduce some of the damage. But that first 2 levels there, Quackers definitely was under some fire potentially, and it did cost him the push on the first wave.
Yeah, so a nice small lead for Willwin. We know what he can do when he's ahead, and we've also seen what he's able to do when he's just going even and playing it safe. A little different pick on the Maokai, but going to be able to supplement his team no less. On the bottom side of the map, I mean, just as you would expect, Raheen going to be farming up to make sure Sandillion is picking up their souls. And this game, both junglers started on the same side, so we may see them link up in the top lane early. Although Moody's is going to get spotted out on some vision, we might see well, we'll have to keep an eye on the tracking. As now the fear comes through. DTS does have the Defiant Dance to try and stay alive. The spell shield might not be enough. Ignite is on in first blood for DTS, but it should be traded back as Sushi Killa is here. Made his way from the chickens to traded that one back. Even with the first blood, though, completely even in gold. Oh, Quacker, hello. I was looking at the gold. I didn't even see that Willwin was getting deleted, and a solo kill for Quacker. He played the gangplank like a madman. You put him on the Ornn, who's this tank, and he's still out for blood.
That he is. Again, the percentage health damage that comes through from Quacker is really high, especially into other tanks. So long, makes him a deadly dueling partner into most other tank picks, even as the tank himself on the Ornn. So really nice tradability. I also want to talk about DTS. Really well played in the mid lane to be able to trade back a kill onto Dandito. Burnt his flash and his ignite, so now his all-in threat very neutralized, as well as picking up first blood for himself. Fantastic. DTS once again with a hero play, able to get himself again that 1 kill in the top lane. Pretty good for Quackers as well. This is going to be a rough laning phase for the Maokai, but later on in the game will have his value as that frontline tank.
Absolutely. Really in anybody's face, peeling for Sandillion, peeling for Moody's, wherever they need it. So you really have the Maokai and the Tahm Kench going hand in hand to make sure your carries are staying alive. And as we're focusing on this bottom lane, Sandillion, this time around, opted to go with the support item rather than the Dorn's Blade. And this could bode well for him, as he's going to have that supplement gold, like we spoke about in game number 1, that he was missing.
Yeah, that's the case. Hopefully going to be able to utilize that a little bit earlier on to get himself the gold he needs to stay relevant early. And again, another big part of that first game was it was difficult to play with the Set and the Senna in the bottom side because there wasn't a lot of protection. But again, with the Tahm Kench, it becomes a lot harder for the Trundle and the Nocturne to collapse onto this lane and try to get aggression. So I do appreciate the shift from Raheen away from the playmaker, from the damage dealer that he did in the Set and in the Senna himself, and instead going for the Tahm Kench, a lot more protective pick, much more meta base. Really do appreciate his flexibility on that one.
And they do manage to spot Sushi Killa out into the jungle. Raheen gonna get poked down just a bit by the gleaming quill, but everything should go back to normal. So after those first couple kills, pretty quiet game as the dragon has blessed us with its presence. It is going to be Infernal Drake. Both of these teams would like to have the supplementing damage as this game continues. A small gold lead in favor of lane at Zero Blizzard. We'll have to see if they're able to keep it. And Moody's maybe looking for that dragon all by himself.
Yeah, importantly, Raheen was able to utilize the pressure that they had in this lane. So when Raheen is farming as much as possible, they push this wave out so the Sindelian gets him harassed. But also, by pushing it under the tower, he freed himself up to walk into the opposing jungle, put that ward down on the blue buff, and it pushed Trundle out of his own jungle because they don't want to spot out where he's going to be all the time. That frees up Dragon for Moody to take on his own. Not a lot of Nidalees can do that at such high health, but Moody's an expert Nidalee player, knowing exactly what his damage can be and getting that Dragon for his team for free just off the back of, again, pushing a single wave into tower, bought them that time.
Yeah, DTS now in the mid lane. It's going to be a 2v2 in the mid lane. Sushi Killa taken low, but so is DTS. He does not have the health to stay alive. The Conqueror was not enough as Moody gets sniped out. Quacker, you madman. He teleports into the mid lane. Call of the Forge God gets it done.
Yeah, only seconds before exhaust comes down for DTS. That was such a close fight. And again, reminiscent of what we saw in game number 1. While Moody's did collapse quite quickly to that mid lane and allowed DTS to put some damage down, it was the collapse from Quackers that really makes the difference in the fight. 1 kill onto DTS, very, very close. But 2 kills going the way of Sun Sushi Killa, of Quackers, and of Bandito in the mid lane, and you're in a much better position for yourself.
Yeah, and the 2-0 Ornn going to be this huge beefcake front line. We see that he's working towards the Abyssal Mask. Pretty standard. Should have the Sunfire Cape following. And then supplementing damage across the board. You're going to have really any tank item, I would imagine, for the Trundle. But on the Varus, you're going to be able to upgrade that Blade of the Ruined King. Maybe the Redemption down on the bottom lane for Wakanari. The Black Cleaver for Bandito. So you just have so many options. And a lot of the time, if you get behind on the Ornn, it feels fine because you have all the gold still to give back to your team. And now he's ahead as they make this swap to possibly make a play for this Rift Herald that's going to be spawning here in just under 30 seconds.
Exactly what you're going to see. It does look like they might actually just sack this because of the fact that it doesn't look... Okay, yeah, they spot out the top lane. They know they're going to be going in, so they're going to respond to the Rift Herald. Sushi Kills is quite a ways away, though, so it could be an instantaneous collapse coming through from the side of lane 0 onto the Rift Herald because, of course, they have initial priority on this with all 5 members already there. I mean, you got 2 members still on the bottom side of the map, and a backing Sushi Killer means nobody's there to respond to it if the time does come. Now, I want to talk about lane assignments too. DTS, once his Blade of the Ruined King is finished, I think he's a better matchup into Quackers than he is into Bandito on this Nocturne pick. So what I'd like to see is Will Win start to build that Sunfire Cape. Once he has the components of that, he shouldn't be able to be killed by Bandito exclusively and should have enough wave clear with the Sunfire passive to clear in the mid lane. We actually see potentially a collapse coming in here. I'm ready for the fight to happen.
Yeah, the Rift Herald started up. Ornn in the bottom lane does not have the teleport. That is going to be given over as Moody's will pick that one up for himself. And, you know, no teleport on Quacker means some turret plates on the bottom side, but ultimately you have to sack that. Like you said, it would have been a 4v5, and that's just not a fight you want to pick in game number 3 of the quarterfinals.
Yeah, most definitely. The Maokai heading down to the bottom side of the map as well to respond. So still some waves, some pressure, some plates going the way of the Ornn, which is definitely positive. But you do get the Rift Herald here, which is a great sum of gold that you can get if you were to pressure into the top side of the map or into the middle of the map. And that's where you're going to see this come through. You have to respond to, at minimum, what the Ornn was able to do. He wasn't able to get a second plate there for himself. So even 2 plates will be an advantageous trade. Ideally, you'd get a tower and potentially even force a fight maybe onto this bottom lane with DTS if you can clear the wave or find a back of Bandito fast enough.
All 4 members of these bottom lanes are level 6. Raheen can look to make a play with the Abyssal Voyage, which would surely be stomped in its tracks. Again, Wakanari should have enough peel on the Rakan. It's we spoke about this a little bit in draft. It's an interesting pick for the lane itself because it's not the most safe. You typically see the Tom Kench or the Braum, maybe even the Nautilus, but they sack the ability to be safe on the bars. Say, hey, just stay back. You're gonna be all right. Wakanari, time to step up, big dog. Just like game number 1, we need the engages, we need the knockups, we need the taunts from the quickness. So I'm excited to see how that develops. If they're able to get to that back line and punish that, or if Wakanari is just gonna be too much on the engages.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to watch that one. I love that both of these supports are people that want to take the game into their own hands. They don't want to be playing things like the Braum, like the Tom Kench, to be quite honest. They want to be on playmakers and things that they can engage into the other team with. And finally, you know, Wakanari finally gets that for himself. We don't see that for Raheen in this game in particular. But certainly, Tom Kench has his own values, has his own way to outplay again by keeping his Senna safe, doing things of that sort. So we'll see if he's able to maintain that for himself. Bot lane switches back to bot lane now, away from the top side of the map. 2 plays still down. Ornn wasn't able to get the third for himself, and the Rift Herald still in the pocket of Booties.
Yeah, the pillar going to be used, though. They do lock down a Sushi Killa, and they are able to get away for now, but Dragon spawning here in just a moment. We may see our first big team fight as all of the ultimates are available. And Wilwin coming out of the base on this Maokai. Wakanari gets poked down quite a bit by Centillion, but not much more than that. The Dragon is started up. Illinois Academy on that one here. The members are here. Nature's Grasp is available. There's a call for and immediately Drake is stolen. As immediately on the back line, Dandito picks up one in return. Centillion under fire as well. Dandito gonna grab a second one for himself, and 4 members deleted by this combo of the Illinois Academy. You got the Dragon, but at what cost?
I don't like the fight setup here. So the thing is that they're attacking into a team with multiple ways to prevent and engage from coming through. With Wakanari, with the Charm and the W coming in. You've got the Pillar coming in from Sushi Killer. You've got the Ultimate coming in from Ornn. That completely eradicates all directional engage from one team. You have to go multi-directional to find something. Moody stole the Dragon. Take the fight, or take the Dragon and run. Just let him die in the pit if you have to, but don't take the fight afterwards, especially because Dandito comes in on the backside with a Nocturne pick. You don't get to see anything, and he gets a ton of damage onto your backline. DTS wasn't able to put out enough, doesn't have the Blade of the Rune King finish. Centillion doesn't have enough itemization or gold quite yet. It is a mess of a fight for the side of lane 0. They get the Dragon, which puts the soul point definitely in their favor for a long time. So they can stall the game. That's about all they can do. They can't fight anytime soon.
Yeah, just Moody's jumping in, and when you burst down the Dragon, you don't have the burst for the team fight. Just as you said, just immediately Illinois Academy keen on that, and they know that without Moody's there's not a lot of follow-up damage, as Quacker and Wilwin going toe-to-toe in the top lane. Wilwin actually getting the better half of this trade. Shouldn't be too damning there, as he's just able to walk away from that one. Maokai, you know, you're not worried about too much there. The Rift Herald going down, and on the back of that loss, or the team fight loss, you got the Dragon, but you lose 4 members, and you lose the Rift Herald because you don't have your team to place it anywhere, and he just wasted in the mid lane, and now we're looking at just shy of a 4,000 gold lead for Illinois Academy.
That's the case. The other thing, again, also, is it's difficult to take towers as a team like this because your main range damage dealer is Centillion, who takes a long time to get into these fights and try to get some of the itemization because he's stacking that passive, not buying gold, not buying items, things of that sort. Moody's is usually pretty ahead at this point. A's playing a little slower because of the fact that, you know, he isn't ahead. He isn't making this monster. And DTS, again, hasn't even completed an item yet. So they don't take towers very fast. They don't have the gold in their pockets. They can't fight all that well. These 2 Dragons, in my mind, are, again, just a deterrent to stall this game out as long as possible. They can wait through 3 drakes. That's 15 minutes that they've bought themselves. That all they have to do is sit back, farm, do what they can, take what they can, and that's it. As long as they do that, a 3,000 gold deficit at, you know, 30 minutes into the game, not as big as what you would see otherwise. So that's a good place to be if you're the Senna, not a bad place to be if you're DTS. And anything they can find along the way, take it if you can, but don't be forcing things at this point.
Absolutely, and like you said, if they're taking the Dragon, look for something else. As turret plates now fall, we're looking at 5 turret plates taken by Illinois Academy to the 2 turret plates. So, I mean, just that gold alone is huge, not including the amount of kills and the CS that they are up as a whole in this team. Wilwin doing a good job, though, staying up on Quacker, who is, you know, he's in a lead in his own right at 3-0-3 on the Ornn, but still being able to play safe in what seemed like game number 1 was such a lopsided matchup. You know, he was 2 levels down the entire time, but he's able to stay in there with the Ornn on the tank matchup. And like you said, they need to scale, as it looks like they're going to play around the Rift here. It looks like Illinois Academy want to pick this one up. The bottom lane, though, for lane 0 Blizzard, still in the bot lane, just trying to trade it back. This is exactly what you said. This is what you have to do. You're just buying time. You need to get these items. You need to scale up.
Yeah. The big problem is Rift Herald might be a point of contention, might be the point. Now, trading a tower for one tower would be nice, but you have to commit the resources to make sure they can't take more than one tower. Looks like Sindillian's can be granted the one. They gotta use that Contenders ultimate to get to the mid lane to defend it as fast as possible, because they can chain this tower into another one with the Rift Herald if they want. No, it doesn't. Oh yeah, they are gonna drop it. They're going for 2 here, and that's something you need to try to prevent if you're on the side of lane 0.
The bot lane is going to be recalling. Raheem going to be running through that river. He does have the Abyssal Voyage available to join with the Shelly head, but takes that turret down, and they've got the damage to pick that one up as well. So the role has been reversed here as the 2 mid lane turrets going down in favor of Illinois Academy. Well, we saw that happening for lane 0 Blizzard. They're just not able to get it done in this game. The Aurelia still sitting on the Bilgewater Cutlass, not able to finish her items just yet. Whereas the Nocturne, he's got a Black Cleaver and then some.
Yeah, definitely going to be the case. And with double mid tower taken now for the side of Illinois Academy, my apologies, that is now the point where you want Bandito roaming around the map. If you have got a Nocturne, if you've got Wakanari on this Recon, all over the map, trying to make plays, trying to bait out something, you don't even need to get much. All you have to do is have your presence felt around the map, and you're going to make the side of lane 0 play a lot more scared, or a lot more conservative than they need to obtain some resources for that later game. Again, they're going to start stacking dragons. This is Ocean Break, so it's going to be pretty... once it starts to stack, you're going to really start feeling the effects, but that soul is really the most important thing when it comes to a game like this. But Baron is something that can also be pressured in just a little bit, about 5 minutes away from that one coming through and being a real threat for either side. Again, I'm not digging having Bandito on a side lane. I think you keep him mid, and I think you roam around with him and Wakanari as best as possible, just continuing to push out mid lane and looking to bait. Again, Nocturne Ultimate, a terrifying thing to deal with.
Absolutely, especially when you've got these champions looking to get something in return. Wilwin pushed all the way up to the turret, knows he's safe because the Nocturne is on the bottom side with the rest of the team taking a dragon, and he's just going to take his leave after banging that turret down. 3 turrets to 1 in favor of Illinois Academy, and the gold lead in game number 1 virtually even at this point. The gold lead in game number 2, lane 0 Blizzard up just about this much, 4,000-ish at this point, and now we see completely flipped, and I think it's all kind of to the flex pick here. This Nocturne for Bandito, he didn't have such a great Galio game, but you turn it around, you put him on a carry, and he's absolutely popping off thus far.
Not to mention Sushi Killer, I think has had a lot better of a game in this one than we've seen in previous games. Usually he's playing rather passively, wasn't ganking much, or at least wasn't getting much in terms of effectiveness during his ganks, but in this game in particular, he's doing very well into the Nidalee. The Nidalee usually getting kills at this point, but is shut down, so it's really just a farm advantage that has been owned by Moody in this matchup. So in this one, Sushi Killer's playing the Trundle matchup much, much better, finding the early aggression, exactly what he needs to do.
Nature's Grass, though, coming out. Quacker taking a little bit of damage. Has a chance to corrupt to get a lock already down. Thick Skin already used, and here comes Call to Forward. Got Paranoia. Things go dark, and underneath the turret goes Bandito. Trying to find the damage. Sushi Killer going to pick up the first one here. Bandito, though, taking the turret aggro. 2 kills to 0 thus far. Sindillian going to pick up the shutdown, but it doesn't matter. A double kill for Quacker as he tries to walk away. The turret cannot take him down, and a 3 for 3, but Moody's isn't done just yet. Sindillian picking up the kills there. The spears come out. Moody's got the heal. Does he have the damage? Yes, he does. A shutdown for him, and an ace for 3 in favor of lane 0 Blizzard, and what a fight.
I'm astonished they're able to pull that one off. I think the big reason why is that the initial engagement from Quackers and Bandito didn't do enough work because they were stuck under the tower. You had to disengage out from under the tower. If they're out in the middle of the lane, if they're out in the mid lane, something like that, where there is no tower, they win this engagement 10 times out of 10. But this one, a lot more scuffed, and not what you want to see if you're on the side of Illinois Academy, because going under that tower puts you at risk. Also, huge ultimate and huge E coming through from DTS to get a lot of power shots onto multiple targets and to get a lot of damage on multiple targets, so that his cleanup could come through from Sindillian and from the Nidalee afterwards. Really nicely done there.
Yeah, finding their way. They're not giving up just yet. Clawing back. Number 3 is lane 0 Blizzard, and you put a couple of kills on Sindillian, who is not the farming AD carry, as that is how Senna is played, and that feels pretty good. That it makes you feel less behind. Now sitting at 3-1-2 with 75 souls, and he's okay. He's just following Moody's around, trying to pick up some more souls. for himself. Baron will be spawning very soon. I can't imagine either of these teams are looking to take it right away, but if you are Illinois Academy, you've got the on-hit bars, you've got the Trundle, the Nocturne. You have a lot of damage and a lot of ways to melt this Baron, so it could be something sneaky, whereas both of these teams have been playing pretty safe around the objective. So if you're looking to catch your team off guard, or the enemy team rather, Illinois Academy can definitely do that.
And I think Illinois Academy, one of their best plays they can do right now is trade a Dragon for the Baron. A Dragon for Baron means that you are under risk of potentially losing the Drake, but an Ocean Drake is going to be impactful in a game like this just because of the fact that you've got Nocturne, and like if his engagement doesn't stick, it's not going to stick. It's going to be pretty bad, and he's likely going to die off the back of it. But taking the Baron here could cripple the entire base, take away all the outer towers, and give a much better access.
Oh, Moody's gets caught up, and that's going to be too much CC. It's Quacker picks that one up. The teleport coming through, but you're going to find yourself a 1v4 will win. Is it going to be enough? Nature's grasping lock with a beautiful Vanguard dash from TTS, and he's dealing the damage. Manages to pick up one, picks up two. Nocturne makes his way into the fight, and Dillian gets devoured up here by Tom Kent's going to stay alive for now. He's trying to cut his way out, but it's going to be enough. No, it's not. The shutdown for Quacker, and now a 2v3. Duraheen and DTS have a nut. Dandito is just too much. The return ace for 2 in favor of Illinois Academy, and Baron has spawned.
It's a tough one. Again, you don't want to fight. This time you get engaged on just off the back of a phenomenal Varus ultimate from Derek. I think he might have flash ulted just to catch Moody's. Once Moody's is out of the fight, that's a lot of your damage, and especially over the course of the fight, a lot of your consistent damage. Moody might be able to run out and maybe contest it, but I doubt it. Dandito's engage also super well timed. It was late into the fight when a lot of the resources have been burnt, and DTS doesn't quite have the damage to bring him down. Went Blade of the Rune King into Black Cleaver, so can't kill like swishy targets nearly as well as you would want. Has a lot better DPS against heavy targets, something like the Orange, something like the Trundle, but doesn't have the same kind of DPS against something like Bandito. And pretty rough go. They are going to at least trade the Dragon, and this is a much better trade. Yeah, Moody's gets spotted out on this one. It's a 5-man collapse. The Nocturne is pretty far out, but
yeah, Paranoia is going to be available here in just a moment. Such a short cooldown. Moment and short together is Mormont. In case you guys are wondering, we may see a fight around the Ocean Drake. Again, this could be soul point for lane 0 Blizzard. Raheen is keeping the aggro. Nature's Grasp going to keep everybody locked down in the jungle, and they might look to turn. There's a call to Forge God, though. Here's the engage. Falls away, going to find 2. And Wakanari, no HP, but he still goes in. Dandito on the back line. Managed to pick up 1. They pick up 2 as Quacker going off, and they're just full HP as Wilwin goes down in a supportal combat as Raheen and Wakanari going toe-to-toe. The Dragon goes over, and the rest of the team will fall. A 4-for-0 in favor of Illinois Academy, and they're trying to make it 5. Abyssal Voyage is available. Kudrick not going to find the snipe, but they're just going to let this frog go as they look to pressure the base.
So the start of the fight for lane 0 was actually really good. I think sitting around the Dragon, especially the bottom side of the Dragon, buys you space, buys you time to stall with. Ooh, Wakanari flash W, that's going to be a dead Raheen.
Finds the frog.
That's... Isn't he a catfish? I thought he was a catfish.
Maybe. Everybody says unload the toad, so he's some kind of frogfish thing.
That's fair. But yeah, I think the initial play from lane 0 was really good, but even better was like Illinois Academy's ability to bait out the fight around the Dragon Pit was far superior. Quackers uses the ultimate across all 5 members, gets a massive engage. Kuderik and Wakanari were pushed out of the fight really early on, but then Sindillion left entirely on his own. Raheen, too aggressive on the Tom Catch, wasn't there to eat his 80 carry to prevent the damage from just bursting him out. So there's no Senna for the majority of the fight. DTS gets burst because, of course, Dandito has access directly to DTS once Sindillion is down, and the rest of the fight is just a mess. Moody is in the pit, does get the Dragons, and now they're on soul point. They bought themselves even more time if they can prevent the base from going down, which surprisingly they've done well of so far outside of the mid inhibitor going down. But certainly they could have stalled for a lot more time off the Baron buff and just given the Dragon. That's all they really need to do. Stall for time, leave the Dragon, Baron doesn't take inhibitor, you got more time in the game. But that is maybe some of the damage that they needed on the side of Illinois Academy to take the game in their favor.
Absolutely, and we're seeing, you know, you get the Dragon, but at what cost? We've seen that 2 times this game where Moody's manages to secure the Dragon for his team. They are on soul point, but all 5 members die in one fight and 4 members die in another. And then on the back end of it, you're losing your base across the map. Now, Ornn 8-1 and 10 going to be a huge front line. He was full health that entire fight as they look to siege down the top lane. Inhibitor turrets. Illinois Academy want to take the entire base here. They don't want to leave anything up for grabs as the mid lane inhibitor is already down. They do secure that turret. and now they may look for a fight in the base here. They are pressuring the inhibitor. Raheem trying to do what he can to keep him off, but he's just the Tom Kench. He's not enough. The knock up on the pillar, though, a beautiful knockup. Chance of Corruption going to come down. Paranoia comes out. Everything goes dark for now. Will win, or Dandito goes on the backline onto Sendillion. Is it going to be enough to kill him? Out! It is not just yet. Yes, it is a 2-for-1. Overall now inside the base, a 3-for-1. As Kuderik gonna snipe that one out. Now Moody's in the fountain, does manage to pick one up in return, but the turrets are not doing enough damage. It is gonna be a 3-for-2. Willwin gonna be tanky for now. Wakanari takes a turret shot, and Willwin tries to get away. Does he have the passive heal? Yes, he does, but it's not going to be enough. Moody trying to do what he can. He finds one in return. A 1-for-2, or a 1v2 rather, as the Nexus turrets are under fire, and you've got 2 tanks in front of you, and you're the bursting Nidalee. Is it going to be enough? Quacker trying to take this inhibitor turret down. Doesn't find the knockup, and Raheem makes his way out of the fountain. The Nexus is now open. The Nexus available, but Illinois Academy going to walk away from this one and come back to fight another day.
That they will. Crippling damage onto the base, able to find a fantastic fight. Moody this time not too worried. Oh, they actually might go fight the
Yeah, the Abyssal Voids, they're trying to find Quacker. This could be huge. This is a big frontline. Sendillion trying to do what he can. Does not have the Searing Charge available. He uses that Blasting Cone. Doesn't get away from it. And he's just so tanky. How can you kill this guy? He dodges everything. It's a 1v3. And I mean, sure, you get the shutdown, but everything in the kitchen sink just to kill a 20% HP Ornn.
That's correct. But really, the only tank killer you've got on the team is DTS, and nobody else is really going to ever be able to kill the Ornn for the most part. Even Moody's, with the damage that he's got at the point, is not enough to burst him out. Now, again, it feels like the first 2 games were such high pace for Lane Zero, and maybe they didn't realize how to slow this one down as best as possible. They needed to really badly. This Baron did such heavy damage to their base. They're lucky to still be alive. I think if there had been better focus from the side of Illinois Academy onto the base instead of the fight afterwards, it's possible they could have just taken this one immediately, but they get one more chance at life. Again, stall this game as best as possible. Baron's going to be up in a little bit. I don't know if you can contest it, but you might not be able to weather the storm otherwise. You got to push out mid and top lane. Make sure to be able to at least stay in the area, keep them on their toes around the Baron pit. Maybe Moody can pull off a miracle, still stall this game really, really long. The Dragon's something you're allowed to give over. Never fight for a Dragon anymore.
Absolutely. You want the soul, but again, you don't want to give up too much on the back end, especially with supers pushing your base. You have to be careful and play it safe. What is another Ocean Drake for the Illinois Academy team? Nothing to really be giving up your entire base for, and the Nexus is open, so again, we may see some kind of backdoor coming through. They do have teleport available. I can't imagine Ornn is going to be that member as they look to siege the bottom side of the map. It's going to be a 3v3 down here as DTS finally roams down, but you've still got 2 members. You've got the Ornn, you've got the Nocturne in the mid lane. There's the Paranoia. Everything going to go dark for now. He stays safe as Sushi Killer tanks up the turret rather to try and make his way to his team. So now sitting at half HP on that Trundle pick. Can Moody's find the spears here? There's a knockup. A beautiful engage on Wakanari. Moody's almost gets the lead immediately. He goes Golden to stay alive, but Dandito on the backline onto Sendillion again is going to get him. No, he's not, as that's going to be the trade kill. 1-for-1 so far. A support for your mid laner. That's not a good trade as Wakanari falls as well. 2-for-2, and Quacker again just full HP. Kuderik going to be kiting away from Will Win. Will Win doesn't have the health, doesn't have the damage, and that's an ace. A 5-for-2 in favor of Illinois Academy. That's going to be the game. That's going to be the series. And Illinois Academy beats Lane Zero Blizzard in the quarterfinals.
Again, it's about how you're able to play out the composition. Game number 1, side lane pressure and superior team fighting 1 Illinois Academy the game. Game number 2, you shut down that pressure in the side lanes, and there is Lane Zero doing phenomenal work. And game number 3, you find pressure in the mid lane. Dandito with the Nocturne pick did some great work. Sushi Killer, tons of pressure across the map. And again, it felt like Lane Zero had the ability to slow down the game. They get the first 2 Drakes, and they overextend at that 3rd Dragon that they achieve, and that was the killing blow to them. Everything else from that point just snowballed downhill for the side of Illinois Academy. They played that perfectly, baited out the 5-on-5, which they are far superior in with the Ornn, get the Baron buff, do crippling damage, and just finish this one out.
And we spoke about the scaling and how well you need to scale. Sendillion didn't have the Mura mana until the very end of the game. It was at 13 minutes that we said, you bought yourself with these dragons 15 minutes of time. That's it. And at that point, Illinois Academy are going to take over the game. And just like you said, Rebel, 28 minutes into this game, they find the win for game number 3. And they didn't allow for the scaling, and they had the scaling in response as well. Even if the game went too late, you've got the Varus, you've got the Ornn to just be that huge front line, and that's exactly what Quacker was. That Ornn pick, it shocked me because it's not the carry gangplank, but I mean, he didn't do anything less than carry on that one.
No, he did not. Yeah. What was it? 30 kills. He had 27 assists in this one. In fact, actually, everybody you saw Sushi Killer 28 assist or 28 kill participation on 30 kills. You had Wakanari 23 on 30 kills. Like, this team was so focused on grouping up, utilizing multiple members, utilizing outnumbers, and it seems like they never caught on the side of lanes here. Just a phenomenally played series here from both teams. But again, superior drafting, superior team fighting, and less variance in your team compositions felt like it won the day for Illinois Academy.
Yeah, and with Sushi Killer playing Trundle all 3 games, looking both good and bad, moving into the semifinals, are you afraid of this Trundle pick? And if you ban away the Trundle, you haven't even seen the rest of his champion pool here in the playoffs. So I think that is going to bode very well for them as they move forward. Again, they are going to be jumping into the semifinals as they have taken down Lane 0 Blizzard. What a fantastic series. There's very little words outside of electric that describe this game. And I've said that so many times, but it was just that. The game 1 was so close. Game 2, a blowout. Game 3, I mean, we talked about it. The scaling was there. You could have had the damage coming back in return. And Illinois Academy just managed to get it done. The damage across the board, Illinois Academy take the cake there. The gold across the board, they take the cake. They really showed up in game number 3 when it mattered the most. Coming off of their back foot, Illinois Academy able to get it done.
That they were. Been a phenomenal set of games. That's a quarterfinal game too. We're not even in the semis yet, and we're getting games like that. I could not possibly be more excited to see more of UCO.
I couldn't agree more. I am on that same boat, both as a caster and as a spectator. But GG's to Illinois Academy and a solid fight put up by Lane 0 Blizzard. And wrapping things up, again, both teams, electric. I'm sweating. This game had me absolutely sweating because it was such a good game. I do want to say thank you to the sponsors of the stream here at Upsurge Esports, Kono Keyboards, Sector 6, and Midwest Esports. And before we sign off here, I want to remind you guys that you could make me sweat. You could be the team here in front of me as I'm casting if you just sign up. You've got until May 1st to sign up with your team for the Upsurge Premier League. And then you've got until May 17th to sign up for the Upsurge Contender League, Upsurge Minor League, and Upsurge Junior League. So you could join us here on the Upsurge Esports channel on Summoner's Rift and give us exciting games as we just saw. You could take us to game 3s, you could take us to game 5s, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys do just that. But before we close out, Rebel, do you have any closing remarks? And if you don't have any closing remarks, where can people find you? You were super informational. You've got knowledge throughout the wazoo. Your galaxy brain as a color caster, and I'm super humbled to be able to work with you. Where can people find you so they can see more Rebel?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter. I'm One Rebellious Fox on Twitter. I post pretty much every time I cast with a link of where I'm going. I also like to post games of other games going on in the same league at the same time. So say I were to be casting, say, for like another one of the UCL games that were going on tonight, I would have plugged all of the other ones going on as well. So you can find all of the content going on for all of the leagues that I'm in just by following me on Twitter. Again, that's One Rebellious Fox.
Yeah, links are in the chat. Make sure you guys follow us around so you can see the exciting content. And if you're not already, make sure you follow Upsurge Esports because this is the quarterfinals of the Contenders series. These guys are fighting for top spots. And you guys haven't even seen the Premier League yet. You guys, if you're new, you're witnessing what could be even more blown out of the water. An absolute phenomenal organization. So make sure you guys are tuning in. Again, my name's Tanner Metro, joined here by Rebel Fox. Illinois Academy taking the game 2-1, or taking the series rather 2-1 in the quarterfinals against Lane 0 Blizzard. They will be moving on. And like I said, make sure you follow us all around because you don't want to miss Upsurge as we continue. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys had just as much fun as we did, and we will see you guys in the next one.